Nawe Msimango kufuneka uyeke baba ukugqaba masingena kule mhlangano.
Ngihlale ngagqabi emisonto leyana sofaka ibuku.
Hello?
Kade ngangimtshela uMphemba ngithi kuyayiwe ezulwini yizwe ekwelakhe.
Ombe usefaka ibuku.
Kana kwaZulu.
Yangizwa manje?
Yes, Chair, we can hear you.
Okay. Let me proceed.
Kusekhweni lakho kodwa ekhweni lakho phela ugane kwaZulu kodwa nami nginomfana uNjobento uzala kwaZulu.
Meeting Mphephethu.
Oh, sengikhohliwe.
I was introducing the stakeholders, the people who are present in this meeting. That we have got MEC Mpemba, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Belinda Scott.
Present. Good morning.
We have
Hello,
Good morning, Chair and honorable members.
Thank you, Mpemba.
We miss you, Scott.
We have Provincial Commissioner General General Jula. General, are we here?
Yes, good morning.
Thank you. We have the head of the Metropolis, Steve.
Good morning, honorable members.
Are you here?
I'm here. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Chair.
Thank you. We have also invited unions. We have some those who are affiliates of COSATU and other unions who are affiliates of FETUSA, NATO, and independent, which is SMATU. Are you all unions? Unions? Unions?
Hello? Yes, we hear from NAC2 affiliate.
Okay.
And PSWU.
FETUSA? FETUSA? COSATU affiliate, are we here?
Yes, we are here. Sam is present.
Okay, thank you. We have also the office of the AG.
Yes, we confirm our presence. Thank you.
Thank you. We also invited the IPIT presenters. Lynn John, are you here? IPIT, are you here? Okay. We'll then now move to item 6 for the MEC's remarks. Over to you, MEC.
Honorable Chair, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, and the officials from can I continue, Chair?
Yes, yes.
Chairperson, it's very difficult to, Chairperson?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
You can proceed.
Must I start, Chairperson?
Come again?
Should I start, Chairperson?
Yes, MEC.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good morning to you, Nyambose, and honorable members, acting head of the department and the management. And I would like to greet all stakeholders that are part of the meeting today, and the union formations, provincial commission and the management and the team from SAPS, IPIT members, and all other members that are part of the meeting today, which are part of the law enforcement agency. Chairperson, I wish to formally announce before starting some changes in the Department of Community Safety and LIAISON. As you would recall that the term of office for Mr. Siti Mavundla, who has diligently served this department and with a high level of commitment, and his term has actually ended on the 7th of May. Over the past few months, we have engaged with various stakeholders, and I'm pleased to report that a strong new head of department has been selected to act for now, up until the finalization of the logistic. I know that I have spoken to trade union formations that are part of our department, and this decision is made to try and seek stability in the department while bringing in innovations as well. I do want to appeal to all members of the portfolio committee to give Mr. Gumbi a necessary support as we venture into the next phase of exciting growth for the department. The department will continue to strive towards transformation, transforming the lives of citizens in the province through innovative crime-fighting interventions and a robust program of action. Chairperson, it is with pain and heavy heart that I address honorable members, the new honorable chairperson, on this visual meeting, as our province continues to bury its children, especially young children, with bright and promising future. Chairperson, recently 6 men and a teenage boy were charged in connection with the alleged kidnapping and murder of a 16-year-old teenager, Andile Mbutu, from Hambanati in Otongati. The 7 suspects are appearing in court today, and I think it's only a pity that we have not been able to attend the court proceedings because of the regulations and so on. But I think in future our members will be able to attend these court cases so that we follow up on the cases that they are alleged to have committed. Chair and honorable members, last week I accompanied Minister Pelipele with Provincial Commissioner Gerald Jula and some of SAF members to Shisanyama, where the teenager was allegedly assaulted. We then went to a river where a body was recovered, and it was a very sad moment. We also visited the bereaved family, to just comfort them and offer them the support that we think is necessary at this time of their bereavement. This young boy, who was a matriculant doing matric, had gone missing after he was accused of stealing alcohol from a local Shisanyama lounge in Hambanati. We were told by the police that the body was mutilated and set alight before it was put aside inside a plastic bag and dumped into in the river. Chairperson, although the DNA results have not indicated that it is him, but there are great prospects that it will be him because of the confession by some of the people that were arrested. I am confident in the end the justice will prevail so that Ari Lembutu's family can be able to find closure in this matter. Chairperson, in terms of COVID alert level 4 regulation, the country and the province is preparing to transition from alert level 4 to level 3 of the national lockdown as announced by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa last week. Since the first case of COVID-19 was identified on March this year in our province, we had to embark on extraordinary measures to raise the level of awareness about the disease. When, Honorable Chairperson, the national lockdown was first implemented by our law enforcement agencies, and we have seen good results in the process. What we have been doing since the inception, an integrated law enforcement plan to enforce adherence to disaster management regulation was implemented, and it has mostly operated on full capacity during the lockdown period and will continue to do so during the different alert levels. As the Honorable Premier announced on Sunday, alert level 3 of national lockdown comes with a lot of movements, including interprovincial level travels. This means that our rural areas where most of our elders live may start to be exposed to this virus. As we prepare, Honorable Chairperson, to ease the economy further, all business, government facilities, municipalities must have in place measures to prevent the spread of the virus and protect its people. Honorable members and Chairperson, initially the bulk of the COVID-19 cases were in eThekwini and eMgungundlovu, meaning that the pandemic was concentrated in urban areas. But subsequently, we are now seeing Ilembe district overtaking uMgungundlovu. This, honorable member, speaks to the rising cases of local transmission, local to local transmission. This is very concerning, and as government, we are working tirelessly to slow down the rate of new infections. On 18 May 2020, KwaZulu-Natal recorded 24 new COVID cases, and our death toll remained at 45, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members. The total number of confirmed cases was 1,567. Coming to the law enforcement during the level 4 lockdown, the following is a summary of law enforcement activities under the alert level 4. The total number of arrests from 1 to the 17th of May this month alone is 5,861. Over the weekend alone, from 15 May to 17, a total of 1,025 people were arrested, with 522 people arrested for failure to confine in residence. 36 people were arrested for selling, dispensing, and distributing liquor, and 58 people were arrested for selling a tobacco product or cigarette. The high number of arrests made during this past weekend alone demonstrate that people continue to undermine the rule of law. The stringent measures put in place by government to prevent the spread of the virus. Chairperson and honorable members, COVID-19 has had a negative impact on a number of services. For an example, the courts are operating in terms of the directive issued by the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, which required only urgent and priority cases to be dealt with. The scenarios recently presented by the Minister of Health and the President suggest that there is no definite date for the lifting of the lockdown. However, our law enforcement agencies need to familiarize themselves with the various regulation framework during the different alert levels. Honorable Chair, there also needs to be adequate law enforcement deployment, which we will try and do within the limitations that we have. Honorable members, there are various issues around the lockdown which have been concerning. The main issue are reports of abuse of power by members of South African Police Services, SANDF members, and municipal enforcement officers in the cause of enforcing the lockdown regulation. And I really look forward to the progress report on the enforcement of the lockdown regulation by SAPS. Chairperson and honorable members, the reports of abuse of power by law enforcement officers have been a huge concern. Hence, we need to get to the bottom of the matter. And I am pleased that the Portfolio Committee will get an update report from IPID on progress in the investigating the reports transgressing against law enforcement officers in our province. The intention here is to ensure that all transgressions are investigated without fail. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members and all the stakeholders, in closing, we all need to continue to work together and play our part to curb the spread. The collaboration between communities, law enforcement agencies is very crucial at this time, and it will go a long way in ensuring that law and order is maintained and that we overcome this pandemic. The only way we can conquer this deadly virus is through adherence to all regulations as set out by our government and adherence to guidelines and protocols set out by the World Health Organization. Honorable Chairperson, it has always been a pleasure for me to account on this structure. But I know, Honorable Chair, that you are as well worried about the budget cuts that are going to be affected in our department as well. And this is going to be done regardless of the fact that this department is underfunded, heavily underfunded, and the job and the work that this department, Honorable Chairperson, is very huge. And I take comfort that upon discussion with the Treasury, MEC, Honorable MEC Pillay, we have agreed that indeed this department is underfunded, but he will await a proposal and a well-packaged proposal to Treasury so that we will be able to see this departmental funding being increased. But I rely on you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, to assist the Portfolio Committee in the endeavor to try and see if we can get more funding for the department. But indeed, we are also going to comply with the rules that we are also going to be experiencing the cut. Negotiations are still going ahead. I've had a briefing from the team from the department, especially the CFO, then the acting HOD and the management, and I'm happy with the process that they had already started. But I am also going to engage the Honorable MEC so that we will be able to get a lot of some funding for the department. I thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and I hope the Honorable Chair would know that concurrently there is a KZN Economic Council that is sitting at this time, I really feel I am not doing good service to the portfolio committee when I again would appeal that I would also join that particular structure, because part of my responsibility is to see what our participation is felt at the Economic Council. But I will wait up until honorable members and the team have exhausted all the issues that they would want me to share with them in terms of questioning me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC Mpemba. The portfolio is behind to support you. I will then allow the honorable members and the stakeholders to engage the remarks of the MEC. Honorable members. Honorable members.
Yebo, start.
Start.
Yebo, start.
Anyone who wants to? Anyone who wants to?
Ngumalo ngizoqala.
Umalo.
Then Kwala.
Kwala.
Ucele.
Cele.
Uzulu.
Zulu. Okay. Umalo.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to Honorable MEC and honorable members and all other invited leaders who are part of this meeting. Thank you very much. Because of time constraint, I won't be able to mention one by one, but I do acknowledge all of them. Chairperson, let me appreciate the presentation and the remarks that has been made by our Honorable MEC Mpemba, which is very much comprehensive, because he has been able to brief us on a number of issues, including the latter one of the deceased, a 16-year-old boy who was killed in Otongati, Ehambanati. We are hoping that justice will prevail. The only issue that I just want to raise, because many issues that have been raised by Honorable MEC Mpemba are very much clear, but the only issue that I just want to raise as a concern, equally has already been raised as well as a concern, is the budget cuts. We must actually understand that we are going to face a huge problem because of these budget cuts in departments. My main worry in particular is for this department, which is Community Safety and Liaison, because we all know that among all the departments in the provincial legislature, this department is hugely underfunded compared to other departments in the province. And now that the very same department, much it is underfunded, but there's going to be budget cuts again, I think we are seriously facing a huge problem in terms of ensuring that the work is being done by this department to ensure law enforcement and so on. But Mpemba has made a very good motivation, of which I fully support, Honorable MEC, that we will support that, motivation or recommendation that if funding can be identified to augment this department, we will fully support that, because I can say that it will be very difficult for the police to do their work if the budget for this department continues to be cut. That is the only submission that I wanted to make, Chairperson. Inkos, Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Sweet.
Honorable Chairperson, the MEC, Mpemba, colleagues, the Provincial Commissioner of Police, Departmental staff, our staff, and Union Formation, we appreciate the update by the Honorable MEC. It was clear, and we support him all the way, and also to concur the sentiments expressed by the Honorable Unqumalo with regard to the budget cut. That was the issue which I wanted also to raise, that while we appreciate the budget cuts due to this COVID-19 pandemic, but at the same time, we can see the seriousness and the problem that which our police will actually encounter, because it has already have a budget encane kakhulu. But when it comes to this one, then it means that they are going to suffer very much. But we can't do anything, especially because of the explanation that has been made by the MEC. We support the MEC, we support the budget cut, but at the same time, we are putting forward that we are going to face problems due to this budget cut. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mpepet. Zulu, I will not give you the opportunity. I'm sorry. MEC's remark is only for honorable members. I will then move to
Thank you, Chair. I would like to greet all members of the Portfolio Committee, greet the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Belinda Scotts, the MEC, Provincial Commissioner, and all invited guests into the meeting, and colleagues as well. Thank you, Honorable MEC, for your presentation that you've given us. I would also like to send my condolences as well to the family of Bobo. And thank you very much for being an MEC who's in touch with what is happening on the ground, and for you to give us a brief report on the happenings of Hambanati, because I honestly do feel that the police of Hambanati or of the area failed the community and the family, in particular of Bobo, and the way they handled the matter. And we are hoping that the Portfolio Committee will be given an opportunity to visit the police station to get a report, and for us to be able to do our own oversight on the issue and on the matter. And I'm also covered by you as well when you talk about the issues of complaints by the community at large with regards to the way our law enforcement agencies are handling themselves with regards to the lockdown. We have seen videos of police mishandling children even. I was hoping that maybe we will get an explanation or get something, an information of that video of a child being grabbed by the police. I think it's also, it comes from the same area, around the Stenga area. I'm not sure which area is that, where you see a local law enforcement agency manhandling a child and the child is screaming. Those kind of visuals are not good. And if we could also get a report on what was happening in there, because I'm sure that somebody knows in this meeting what is that? What was that issue all about? Honorable MEC, at some point we are going to have to deal with the state of our police stations. In your report, I see you covered quite a number of areas, in particular on the issue of COVID-19. But can we, at some point, be able to talk about the state of some of our police stations, in particular the ones that are in the rural areas? Those police stations are appalling, are in an appalling state. We must find a way to be able to get a report on the plans that the department has. I know that it falls under the national department, but I'm sure the minister or the ministers of the national department can give us a report on when are these police stations going to be fixed and all of that. I'm also concerned on the issues of budget cuts, Chair, but I'm covered by members and I'm covered a bit by the MEC when he says they're going to have a one-on-one talk with the MEC of Treasury, because we cannot afford any more budget cuts when it comes to this department. In fact, as the report, the chairperson's report will state that as this committee, we are complaining with the budget that is allocated to this department vis-a-vis the work that is expected to be done by the department. Thank you.
Thank you, Umtele. MEC? 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 Hello? Clear. Hello? MEC? MEC? MEC?
Honorable Chair, the MEC has disappeared on my screen as well. I think he has probably left for his other commitment, but I will just check on his mobile chat. But I don't see him as a participant in our meeting anymore. Maybe he has a problem with the connection or he has just disappeared.
Okay. Can we move to the minute or remember? Oh, it's back. I can see him here. MEC? Mpemba? 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 MEC? He's not around. All members, can we move to another item? In the absence of the MEC, to respond to the clarity and the questions from honorable members. Can we move to another item, which is the minute? Okay. There is first page for attendees of the meeting. And our next one, it was also. Hello?
Honorable Chair, I really don't know what has happened because it has just. but I can see that the chair has now gone further. I don't know where I didn't even hear.
Okay, I can give you an opportunity to respond.
I last heard Honorable Malo when he was and then it cut completely. Any voice? Honorable Chair?
Yes, I'm listening, MC.
I don't know whether it's my born area, Mtubatuba, Honorable Chair, but I don't think you will also be part of that because we are coming from that side.
Ow.
I didn't even get an opportunity to hear each member that commented. I last heard Umkachwa commenting on the presentation. Now it will be very difficult, but I realized that I would be taking you back because I have not really got a word from each member that actually was noted.
Can you come in?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair. Well, Chair, we had sent our condolences to the family of Bob, and we thank MEC for his report on the matter. But we have said that we are quite disappointed by the manner in which the police handled themselves in the manner, and they seem to have failed the family of this deceased young person in handling this whole situation. And we are looking forward to when the legislature will allow us an opportunity to go and do our oversight work to the police station to get a proper report as well on the happenings, because we are lucky that this particular issue was raised by community members who put it on social network. That's why we were able to get a hold of it. The second point, Chair, was on the matter of the way we were appreciating the fact that the MEC has lifted the way the police are handling the issue of the lockdown when it comes to our community. The mishandling of the community members and the mistreatment by different law enforcement agencies. I made an example of the video that is doing the rounds of a child being mishandled by a member of a security service. We are not sure where is that video from, but from our understanding, it's also around the area Tongati or Verolem, I'm not sure. To say that those kind of situations are not acceptable. Can we get more information in this regard on what was that video about? If there's anyone here who can give us clarity as well, so that we also know what seems to be going on that video where a child is crying and there's a parent who's saying this has been happening for the past hour. Thirdly, Chair, we raised the issue of the state of our police station. We were saying that we are hoping at some point this portfolio committee can actually focus on that and be able to get a full report on the infrastructure development of some of these police stations, and know when are they going to be fixed. Maybe get a national report in this regard. And perhaps we also focus on the rotation of of SAPS from other police stations, which seems to have a problem, who are not doing their best. And we're also complaining, Chair, on the issue of the budget cuts. The issue of budget cuts, Chair, we are happy though that the MEC is going to be communicating with the MEC Ravi Pillay to inform him of our displeasure to say that this portfolio committee has been raising the issue of underfunding of this department. So if we are going to continue to take more funds from it, we are literally killing the work that is meant to be done by this very important department. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tele. I'll then allow MEC to respond.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. I appreciate the way that members appreciating the presentation that I've made and the issues that have been covered by the presentation. Indeed, honourable members, for issues that are raised by Honourable Tele, I will rely on the portfolio committee in doing the oversight on different police stations that we have. But I must say our responsibility and SAPS, whether we are in a dilapidated police station or not, but service delivery to the community, we want to make sure the communities are getting the best service that they deserve. I do want to cite one police station in Bazwane with the feedback that I've been getting that this police station is working hard and the communities were phoning, applauding the police. But you find that some police stations that are well constructed, well built. You take the police station of Usuwe, you go to Usipingo, places like you go to Eskawini, you go to Tongat as well, where these mishaps took place. It is all about a commitment for our members to serve the community. But I would not take offense when honorable members are doing their oversight over what the department does and over what our men and women in blue do. But I can assure you, honorable members, that we are committed to serve this country with the diligence, and police service members are really wanting to do their best. In terms of the video, I'm sure honorable members is talking about the video that was in Palito, which was committed by members of the municipality under Watuguza. And we have elevated the case to the province, and we are investigating these cases because we want to get to the bottom of what has caused this. Indeed, the behavior of we were also disappointed, but Honorable Minister and the PC and myself who investigating and take necessary steps against whoever that has not been able to perform his or her duties. I do want to hasten to say that around about the police that has killed himself, that is some people claiming that he's killed himself because of his involvement of the Bobo case. We are still going to follow that one up because we do not want to rush and speculate, but we will get into the bottom of it. Honorable Chair, the budget cuts, what I also had Honorable Ngumalo talking about. We really feel that you are our hope, honorable members and honorable Chair, that this department be funded accordingly. In terms of the infrastructure, all infrastructures for most government departments that are using are belonging to Public Works, Department of Public Works, and we are still engaging with them, but obviously we do need to be assisted as well by honorable members in not necessarily putting pressure, in persuading Public Works to renovate in time so that the situation, the conditions where our police men and women are working are conducive for them to raise the morale. But thank you very much, Honorable Chair. It has always been a pleasure for me and the department, as having been mandated by the law, that we keep accounting to the portfolio committee. And please rest assured of our support, and don't hesitate to phone me if you feel that there's anything that I should assist. May I say that it is not only the social media that has influenced the arrest. I personally was phoned by the Councillor Kumalo and some community members, and I personally took it up with Jula, and then luckily one person that confessed was of great assistance to us. Excuse me, because we would not have been at this level had we not got cooperation and the tip and the displeasure from the community members that are in Otongat. But thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I don't know whether I should be allowed to steal myself from the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. Thank you, Mpemba. I know you have got a lot of commitment. You are free to leave if you want to. We'll then move to.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. We'll then move to item 6, to the minutes. Honorable members, the minute was sent in time, and I'm sure you have read the minutes. For now, we'll quickly go through to the minutes. Our first page is minutes of the meeting. We're presently meeting, followed by the remarks by the MEC. We'll quickly go through minutes, comment and discussion of the MEC's remarks. Followed by reports by the Department of COVID-19, and followed by the SAPS report on COVID-19. There was a comment and discussion of the reports. I think we are all here. Input by stakeholders on the report. The last page resolution, which form part of the minutes arising. Yeah, these are the minutes. Is it the previous minutes? Are the minutes through the reflection of the previous minutes, or members? Honorable members?
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
Yes.
The minutes do reflect the spirit of the meeting, Chair. Thanks.
We are moving the adoption. Any move of the adoption of the minutes?
Kwala.
Moving. Seconder. Hello? 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 Honourable members?
Honorable Chair.
Yes.
If I may come in, I believe Honorable Cele was moving for the adoption, and then Honorable Kwala was seconding. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can you move to the next item? The report by the department. HOD.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, honorable members, the Deputy Mayor, and the representatives from the organized labor. I'm Sbusiso Gumbi, the acting HOD for community safety. I'm 2 days in the position, Chair. Through your permission, if you could allow me to indicate that a first report that relates to the fourth quarter of the department will be presented by the CFO in conjunction with Mr. Zondi on issues of non-financials. Then on the update on the resolution of the Youth Parliament and Women's Parliament, Mhlomi will be updating us in terms of those matters. Understanding that the reports has been shared with the honorable members, we will be highlighting the key points within our presentation, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Okay. Where is the agenda now? We are done with your report.
The CFO Chairperson will take us through the report on financials. CFO, can you take us through?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and as apologies for the inconvenience. Greetings to honorable members, the Deputy Mayor, the Union representative, and the members of SAPS and the colleagues. We'll table the fourth quarter report on the financial side for the department, which is before the audit, Honorable Chairperson, to paint the picture on how the department has performed in terms of the expenditure in regards to the budget that was allocated to the department. Honorable Chairperson, the budget that is allocated to the department is 235 million, and the expenditure as at year end was sitting at 233 million, and then we had a 1 million budget that was unspent, which is putting us at the 99% in terms of the percentage of the spending. On the economic classification, looking at the compensation of employees, out of the 98.2 million that was allocated, 97 million was spent, and we realized 1.2 million that made the department to sit at the 99% spending. On the goods and services, with the allocation of 131,458,000, 131,458,000 was spent, and that made the department to fully spend the budget that was allocated on the goods and services. On the payment for capital assets, the budget of 5,080,000, the whole amount was spent, which made the department to fully spend the budget that was allocated to the payment for capital assets. Also, on the 66,000 that was budgeted for the payment of capital assets, the 66,000 was spent, which made the department to spend 100% on the payment for capital assets. Moving on the second slide, Honorable Chairperson, we're showing on the two programs of the department that we have an administration program and also the Provincial Secretariat for Police Service program. And we're showing that 93,568,000 was allocated to program 1, which is administration, and the whole budget of 93,568 was spent, which made program 1 of administration to fully spend the budget that was allocated. On the program 2, on the Provincial Secretariat for Police Service, the budget of 141,486,000 was budgeted, and the budget that was spent as at year end was 140,280,000, with the balance unspent of 1,206,000 that made the department to spend 99% in terms of program 2. On the next slide, Honorable Chairperson. On the next slide, we're showing on the department's mandate per the indicators, and we're also pointing out that the department's strategic objective as set by the department are to evaluate the police service delivery and compliance with the national policy standards and make recommendations for redress where required, and also to assess the effectiveness of visible policing in the province, also to improve the SAPS efficiency and effectiveness through the independent service delivery, evaluation and rewards, and also the overseeing the establishment and functioning of the CPFs at the police station level in the province. Also to promote the community dialogue and participation in support of crime prevention initiative and activities. Also to execute the social crime prevention programs at a provincial and local level, and also research and develop the social crime prevention responses to community safety priorities. Also to consolidate the community safety network structures. Moving to the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, we're now indicating on the departmental overview in terms of the spending. We're showing that the department has slightly underspent against the post-adjustment budget as at the end of the financial year. The department has overall spending success rate of 99%, and we're indicating that this underspending was largely due to the vacant posts that were not filled as anticipated, which was also due to the disputes between the labor and the employer. We also indicating that this dispute was then settled towards the last quarter of the financial year, which the department thereafter proceeded with the process of the recruitment. The department, during the processing, which is currently at the annual financial statement, has made the adjustments to its adjustment budget of 1920 financial year, and these post adjustments are permissible in terms of the PFMA and also the Treasury regulations. We're indicating that we've made the variaments from Program 2 to Program 1, which amounted to 2 million, and also the goods and services and compensation of employees for capital assets, which also amounted to 3 million. And we're indicating that these variaments, they are consistent with the rules that govern the thresholds of movements between economic classification and also the main divisions of the vote. The movement of funding from Program 2 to Program 1 is within the 8% threshold that is allowed by the PFMA. Also, we indicate that when it comes to the expenditure on the APWP grant, the department has fully spent the grant of 7 million, which is according to its conditions. Moving to the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, we're indicating now that on Program 1, the department has the budget allocation of 93.5 million, and the same 93.5 million, it's fully spent as we alluded from the previous slides. On the compensation of employees, the department has a budget of 37,253,000, and the 37,253,000 was fully spent, which made the department to sit at 100% expenditure in terms of the compensation of employees on Program 1. On the goods and services for Program 1, we fully spent the 52,336,000 that was allocated. And also on the transfers and subsidies, we fully spent the 45,000 that was budgeted. And also on the payment for capital assets, we fully spent the 3,934,000 that was allocated. Moving on to the slide, Honorable Chairperson. We're showing that on sub-programs for Program 1, on the Office of the HOD, with the budget allocation of 6.1, the Office of the HOD fully spent the budget of 6.1, and also with the sub-program of the financial management, with the budget allocation of 13,188,000, which was fully spent, sitting at 100% at year end. And also on the sub-program of corporate services with the budget allocation of 57,480,000, it was fully spent, sitting at 100%. And also the sub-program of legal services with the budget allocation of 3,354,000, the sub-program fully spent the budget that was allocated. And also coming to the sub-program of the security services with the budget allocation of 13,437,000. At year end, it fully spent the budget. Moving to the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, reminding on the mandate on the Program 1, where we're highlighting that the purpose of this program is to provide the essential administrative and management support while providing the strategic direction and support. Support services include the administrative, financial, legal support, and also the human resource services. We indicate that this program comprises of the Office of the HOD, the financial management, the corporate services, legal services, and also the security services, which is in line with the sector-specific safety and liaison program structure. The program houses the centralized fixed cost of the department, which includes the running cost of the head office and also the district offices, with the establishment of the district offices as imperative of the department decentralized approach to the service delivery. Fixed costs include the building leases, cleaning, and also the security cost, and also the auxiliary services provided by this program, which includes the information technology cost, including the SITA cost, and also the provision of the IT infrastructure, the fleet services cost, training of staff, and also the bursary cost, among others. Financial costs also include the audit cost, which relates to the regularity audit that is conducted by the Auditor General. Moving on the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, we're now coming to Program 2, trying to show the picture on how the Program 2 has performed in terms of the expenditure. On Program 2, the budget that was allocated of 141,486,000, the expenditure at year end was 140,280,000, and with the budget that was available of 1,206,000 at year end, making the program to sit at 99% expenditure in terms of the percentage. In terms of the breakdown, as per the economic classification, on the compensation of employees, with the budget allocation of 60,954,000, only 59,748,000 was spent, leaving 1,206,000 for the economic classification. On the goods and services, with the budget allocation of 79,122,000, it was fully spent by the program. And also on the transfers and subsidies, with the budget allocation of 198,000, it was fully spent by the program. On the payment for capital assets, the allocation of 1,146,000 was fully spent by the program. Also, on the payment for capital assets of 66,000, it was fully spent by the Program 2, which is for service delivery. Moving on to the second slide, Honorable Chairperson, looking at the sub-programs now of the Program 2 on how it has performed as per the sub-programs. We're breaking down the same budget allocation of 141,486,000. And on the policy and research, with the 4,131,000 that was allocated, they fully spent. And on the monitoring and evaluation, on the budget allocation of 10,470,000, only 9,264,000 was spent, with 1,206,000 that was not spent. On the safety promotion sub-program, on the 83,580,000, 100% was spent by the sub-program. On the policy committee relations, with the 10,241 budget allocation, 100% was spent at year end. And also on the program support, with the budget of 33,064,000, 100% was spent at year end. Moving on to the next slide, Honorable Chairperson, we're reminding on the mandate now of the mandates per the indicators of Program 2. We indicate that the main purpose of Program 2 is the service delivery programs of the department, which is to deliver the department's mandate in respect of its service delivery imperatives. That is on the second slide. The mandate is listed in terms of the objectives of the department, which is consistent with the security sector as prescribed by the National Department of the Civilian Secretariat for Police Act of 2011. The purpose is also consistent with the department's decentralization strategy, which is to deliver the services at the grassroots level. The objectives are centralized under the sub-program in order to provide the consistency in the delivery of the services based on the characteristics of the objectives, and also on the policy and research sub-program. The purpose, they conduct the research into social crimes issues and also to evaluate the policies. In the monitoring and evaluation sub-program, they provide an oversight function over the SAPS and the Metropolis, principally through the monitoring of the police delivery and recording, and also investigating the complaints against the police. And further, the purpose include the facilitating and implementation of the provincial policy and compliance with the national standards. On the safety promotion sub-program, they mainly develop and execute the social crime prevention programs in response to community safety priorities in liaison with a network of stakeholders. And it consists of the VSCPP to deploy the volunteers to enhance the improved communications between the communities and SAPS in order to prevent the social crimes. And the community police relations sub-programs, its purpose is to establish and also to maintain the community safety structures to improve the cooperation between the police and the communities and to promote the community dialogue and also the participation in support of the crime prevention initiatives. On the program support sub-program, they provide the support on all other sub-programs in this program of Program 2. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, CFO. Item 7.2. HOD was going to take item 7.2.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. On item 7.1, there were two aspects, Chair. There was a financial report and also the non-financial reports. If the Chair could allow Zondi to take us through to the targets in terms of the expenditure that the CFO have presented. It will be at the high level again, Chair, but the detailed report have been shared with the honourable members. If Zondi could come in.
Thank you, HOD. Good morning to the Honourable Chair and the members of the committee and the other stakeholders that are joining this meeting. I'll be taking through the report on the non-financial data, which is our performance information. If the browser can please go to page number 0, which shows that in terms of the indicator number 1, which was the follow-up on the intervention or report on national monitoring tools. The department had targeted to do 32, but we ended up doing 45, which means we have achieved by 13. And I think the explanation that we give there is that the overachievement in this quarter is to make up for the underachievement in the first quarter. And also we are alluding to the fact that the underachievement in the previous quarters were because of the shortage of personnel in the King Chetshwayo district. Chair, I'll take the report as read and I'll go straight to the explanation where there is under or overachievement. If the browser can please go to page number 7 of the report. There we are reporting that on the number of reports on the follow-up intervention on domestic violence, the department had targeted to do 34. We ended up doing 42, which means we overachieved by 8. And our explanation also is similar to the one in the first page, which was the overachievement was also to make up for the underachievement that was in the quarter 1, and also the issues that are around the King Chetshwayo district. If the browser can move on to page number 14 of the report, which I also take as read, we are also reporting that in terms of the IPIT recommendations that the department is following up on, we are able to achieve the consolidated report as expected. But also, we also reporting that in terms of the special project that the department was doing, which is a national project on the forensic laboratory special project, the department was able to go through with that project. If the browser can go to page number 14 of the report, where the department is reporting that in terms of the specialized units that the department is monitoring for South African Police Services, we were targeting to do 4 specialized units. We were able to do all the 4 that were expected of us, which were Stock Theft Unit in Vryheid, in Greytown, in Bergville, and also at Scott. We also report that one of the things that we did as part of our monitoring responsibility is evaluation of South African Police Service headquarters, which was done successfully. We were also able to do our monitoring of complaints against South African Police Service as expected by the legislation. If the browser can please go to to page number 16 of the report, we are also happy to report that the Metropolis that we targeted to do, which is Chatsworth region of the Metropolis, we were able to achieve the target that we had set for ourselves. Just underneath that, also the school safety crime prevention protocol, we were able to monitor 13 of the police station in line with that protocol that it signed. If the browser can go to the following page, which is page number 18, we had planned that as part of our annual project that the department has, we normally conduct the Police and Community Service Excellence Award, which we do towards the end of the financial year, which is March. But we are unable to go on with that award ceremony that we normally do on annual basis. And our reason for that is that the Community Service Excellence Award that are held on the yearly basis in the last quarter of the financial year, which is March. So we're saying that due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 in March, it made it difficult for the department to go through with that award ceremony that we normally have on the annual basis. Just underneath that, as part of the pronouncement by the then MEC, Kaunda, the department had planned to monitor the coach watching brief. So basically, the department was going to be part of the team that was going to go to court to look at the issues that relate to why some of the cases that were brought into court were reversed back to the police station. But unfortunately, we had planned that we were going to recruit additional M&E assistant directors, but that did not take place. So we're saying that due to that inability to recruit, the department was unable to meet the target of 39 that it has set for itself. In fact, it's 78 target that it was set for itself for the financial year. So we're hoping that in this financial year, we might be able to perform this target. If we can please move on to page number 19 of the report. We had planned that for the 4th quarter, we wanted to establish 2 of the CSF but we only established one. And I think mainly what we're saying as a reason is that the shortage of the personnel in KCD, which is mainly an impact why the department was unable to achieve that. But I think, Chair, if you recall, and the honourable members, there was a report that was requested by the portfolio committee with regard to our CSF. I think the details in terms of this will be on that report that was requested by the portfolio committee. We had also planned to assess 10 of our CSFs. We did 11 for the last quarter, and also the reason for this was that we were trying to catch up for the other months where the assessment did not take place. If you can please move to page number 21 of the report. The department had planned to monitor or audit CPF, to audit a CPF functionality of the CPFs. We had planned to do 35. We were able to achieve the 35 in the fourth quarter. If you can please go to page number 25 of the report. The department had planned to establish 10 ward safety committees across the province in the last quarter, which is the fourth quarter, but we were able to do 29. So we overachieved by 19, and this is also to make up for the other quarters where we had underachievement. If you can please move to page 30 of the report. The department had planned to support our structures that we work with, which are our stakeholders, and we were able to achieve that target. If you can please move on to page number 48, of the report, which is our research. Part of our responsibility as a department is to do research on the issues that pertains to safety and security. So we had planned to conduct one provincial safety priority research, and we were able to achieve that one research. And the research is on murder in KZN was concluded, and the research report was produced by the department. And we also had targeted to do a research report on special projects. We're reporting that the department was able to participate in the KZN phase of the joint research project on SAPS training facility by the National Surveillance Secretariat for Police Services, and submitted the KZN report on the national office. So that report was done in conjunction with our national offices. We also are reporting that in terms of our policing policies and directive reviewed, we're able to achieve that target, and the project on identification of safety and policing needs and priorities in the KZN was underway, and the stakeholders meeting was held between February and March, and the final report was submitted. And the last one is the monitoring tools and safety models that was done. We are saying the implementation of the school safety protocol as required engagement with relevant officials, and it was done in March, and the report was submitted with this regard. Chair, that will be a report with regard to the non-financial data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. HOD.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Mr. Mhlomi will be updating us on the resolution of the sector parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, leadership from the South African Police Service, colleagues, I'm going to be presenting the report or responses from the department on the Youth Parliament and the Women's Parliament. The first issue that was resolved was the issue of social crime volunteers. 320 social crime volunteers were transferred to the Department of Education as safety officers at schools in various schools in the province. The Department of Education has also recruited volunteers for the remaining 3,200 schools who have assumed their duties in February this year. Induction of school safety officers was done in the various districts of the department, and workshops were held to resuscitate the school safety implementation protocol, and those workshops started in February this year, with 2 districts having already conducted those workshops, that is Ilembe and Ugu districts. These workshops will be followed by a clear plan to ensure functionality of the school safety committees, which will then be launched, which will then be followed by the launch of district school safety forums by the end of the second quarter. Well, we were hoping that we'll be able to do this work, but considering the intervention of COVID-19, this target may not be reached, but it will depend on the situation as time goes on. There was also the issue of police response whenever there are emergencies. This can be answered best by the South African Police Service, but we did get responses from them, which we have included in our report today, where we say that the issue of shortage of vehicles within the police stations is acknowledged with all its challenges and budgetary constraints, which are at the top of the list. The procurement of vehicles is a national competency and is done on a needs basis, and the endeavors are explored to curb the shortfalls in the different police stations. The Provincial Commissioner has tabled a turnaround strategy with the Executive Council of the province, and it's in the process of implementation. The Department of Community Safety and LIAISON assessed all police stations during the last year as part of a special project that was decided by the National SEPS management. So we actually assessed all police stations in the province in 1919 as part of that special project. On the issue of high rate of violent criminal activities at tertiary institutions, the department contracted a service provider to investigate the causes and possible intervention strategies that need to be employed in order to deal with this challenge. The report was to be finalized by the end of March, but then if we consider that there was this intervention of COVID-19, again that submission of that report has been delayed a bit. The focus was on UniZulu, not isiZulu, but UniZulu, UKZN, Pietermaritzburg, DUT, the Steve Biko campus, Mangosuthu campus, and Umgungundlovu and places like. That's where the investigations were conducted. The revised departmental on the issue of the youth directorate being created in the department, we are saying that the revised departmental structure is in progress and is to be finalized within the next 6 months and forwarded to the Office of the Premier and Treasury, and then the Department of Public Service and Administration for final approval. That's where we'll try and cater for the youth directorate in the department. The next issue was relating to the dissemination of information about youth programs that are offered, especially the volunteer program. The response from the department is that the volunteer recruitment adverts are made public through the newspapers, and the newspapers that we target are Isolezwe and Ilanga, as well as the departmental website. So those adverts, they do come out in those newspapers. We also consult with safety structures prior to issuing those adverts. For instance, youth desk of the CPF and other youth structures that we interact with. Adverts are also distributed in war rooms by departmental officials. Our district coordinators make sure that those adverts are distributed in the war rooms at ward level. And the Department of Community Safety assesses all police stations or liaises with all police stations as well. We display those adverts in police stations to make sure that we reach as many people as possible when we're advertising the availability of or the recruitment of volunteers in the department. The e-docket system is implemented in all police stations, but I think as well the SAPs are better placed to respond to this one. But the response we have is that the e-docket system is implemented in all police stations in the province for the purposes of avoiding loss of dockets, whether intentionally or through negligence. However, where due to connectivity and other resource constraints, the implementation of the docket system is more challenging. Efforts are underway to address these constraints. On issues of gender-related cases, we are under the direction of the Premier, and under his direction, the province developed an integrated gender-based violence action plan, which includes the capacitation of police on gender-based violence matters. The implementation of this plan is in progress. The department has victim empowerment volunteers deployed to 23 police stations across the province to provide first aid counseling to the victims. Department of Social Development has also deployed social workers in various police stations within the province to deal specifically with gender-based violence. On the issue of youth getting a lot of interest, with growing interest in youth farming, the police are in a better place as well to respond directly to that one. But from our side, we are aware that the South African Police Service held 62 awareness campaigns in this quarter, attended by many livestock owners. The department held anti-stock theft campaigns in the last quarter of 2019-2020 at Isandlwana, Ngotu, and Ngotu municipalities. A total of 16 stock theft units are capacitated and are maintained by the SAPs. The department also held a stock theft dialogue in the Gwala district in November. On coming to the strengthening of the anti-livestock theft unit, the Provincial Stock Theft Summit was to be hosted by the department before the end of 2021 financial year. However, due to logistical constraints, this summit was not held by the department. So it's going to be held once the lockdown is over. The department is also exploring the possibility of having designated volunteers who are part of the Volunteer Social Crime Prevention group to be dedicated to be deployed in the main areas that have been identified as leading in the stock theft. The training of the KZN CCPA, KwaZulu-Natal Community Crime Prevention Associations, and its affiliates in dealing with the issues of stock theft within the ambit of the law is continuing. On the youth desk, the department partnered with the SAPS and the Youth Crime Prevention Desk for the finalization of the Youth Crime Prevention Strategy. Once it has been adopted by Cabinet, it will be cascaded to all the municipalities in the province. So we are working very closely with the CPF Youth Desk in developing that Youth Crime Prevention Strategy. The next issue pertains to the youth working together with municipalities in the youth programs. Again, the Youth Crime Prevention Desk is due for an elective conference in this year, which will be facilitated in partnership with the SAPS. The new leadership will then be encouraged or capacitated to be able to work together with the municipalities in conducting youth programs. The next item, Chairperson, the correctional services can be better placed as well to respond to that one. But we are saying that correctional services are subjecting 80% of inmates to rehabilitation programs. Over 2,600 victims participated in the restorative justice program to promote successful reintegration of offenders. Its main aim is to increase this figure annually by at least 7%. As the department were also participating in the reintegration of offenders, this happened successfully in places such as Richmond about a year ago. Communities are also expected to partake in the road shows for parole of the prisoners within their localities, so that their voice can also be heard as communities as to how do they feel about the release of some of these offenders. On the training of community police forums, the provincial training program content is continually being reviewed in order to ensure that it is in line with the key challenges that are facing our CPFs. As the department, we actually have a target of training or assisting the establishment and maintenance of the CPFs in the province. So our training program includes all the issues that have to do with capacitation of the CPFs. We couldn't get our training accredited because of the issues of minimum requirements. For instance, a particular program may require that a person must have matric, and some of the CPF members may not have matric and therefore may be excluded from the accredited training. So we are trying, though, to make sure that we capacitate our CPF members. Partnership is being strengthened with the police, between the police and the CPFs, so as to make sure that there's a smooth running and a smooth coordination of activities with the CPFs. The next one, Chairperson, response is that the provincial government has a protocol agreement between the 19 national departments, including but not limited to the Department of Justice, Justice and Constitutional Development, SEBS, SNDF, Department of Home Affairs, Transport, and other departments that are part of the JCPS cluster. So we are working together with those departments in ensuring that we control our borders. And of course, the national government recently established the Border Management Agency, which has recently been launched, and that we hope will improve the porousness of our borders to ensure that foreign nationals don't just walk into our country easily. Well, we also have bilateral and multilateral agreements with other bordering states like Mozambique, Lesotho, and others to make sure that we regulate the inflow and outflow of foreign nationals. In March, the Parliament passed the Border Management Authority Bill of 2016 and referred it to the State President for assent. The Border Management Authority Bill seeks to integrate and coordinate border management under one authority. That is the Border Management Authority that I referred to earlier on, and that is now in place. And of course, the aims and objectives are listed there on the presentation. Poor service experienced by the public at Home Affairs offices. Again, the Department of Home Affairs is better placed to respond to that. But what it can report is that the Department of Home Affairs has initiated a repositioning program that will align with its modernization program and other transformation initiatives. It also released a discussion paper on repositioning the Department of Home Affairs for public comment in May 2017. The inputs from the public informed the drafting of a white paper that will provide policy framework for drafting legislation that will define the mandate, the role, the status, and obligations at Home Affairs offices in future. The white paper was published for public comment and discussion in 2019. The next step will obviously be to review the legislative framework with the hope that we'll come with a new act that will regulate or help to manage the Department of Home Affairs. Constant complaints on the collaborative role of the police with criminals. Police rotation,
there was a recommendation that there should be police should be rotated and not stay in one a locality or one police station. We are saying there that police rotation is subject to a national instruction which provides for the protection of labor rights. It not just be easy to rotate police because police themselves are employees and of course enjoy those rights as employees. However, the police are taking disciplinary action against officers implicated in corruption. The police in the province further reassure the youth. We are saying the youth there because this was a youth parliament that we are talking to or responding to. We are saying that we are reassuring the youth that police management at all levels will not hesitate to take firm steps against members of the service who collude with criminals. Instances of collusion with criminals should be brought to the attention of the police management for appropriate action to be taken against offending members. On the issue of whistleblowing and the protection of witnesses, the National Prosecuting Authority is better placed again there to respond to the challenges that it has as far as the protection of witnesses is concerned. But we do say that the National Prosecution Authority has a witness protection program which is available to prospective witnesses. Increase of cases being withdrawn in courts. The National Prosecuting Authority and the SAPS collaborative workshops have been held in the last year, and the department was facilitating those workshops as well, or was involved in those workshops last year under the issues of public protest, vehicle crime, and gender-based violence. The intention was to improve the collaboration even further this year. And then police management in KwaZulu-Natal is further giving continuous training of detectives in the province a top priority in order to ensure that police cases are not withdrawn in court and cases are investigated properly. On the youth programs, the youth in the province is requested to encourage the public to report criminal activities in their localities and also to encourage complainants and witnesses to attend courts in order to limit the possibility of acquittal of offenders. One of the challenges that we have identified concerning the withdrawal of cases in court is that in some instances, witnesses do not appear in court for whatever reason, sometimes fear of giving evidence against criminals, and this therefore leads to lack of evidence and the cases are withdrawn. So we are encouraging all our people, not just the youth only, to avail themselves in courts and to give evidence whenever that's necessary. Then we are noting that it takes a long time for the youth to gather again to receive responses to the resolutions that they take in their parliaments. We are just noting that it's not really within our powers to make sure that the gatherings of the youth happen more often than just once a year. It will be up to the honorable members to make sure that those parliaments are held more frequently and not just once a year. That will be our response or my report on the Youth Parliament chairperson and honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I don't know whether we can engage this report or we can allow other stakeholders to proceed with their report. Then we engage later. It's up to you to decide.
I suggest, Chair, that we allow others to make reports and then members then can engage in order to save time as well.
Okay. Any support on that suggestion, honorable members?
Supported, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, honorable members. We'll then move to ACPS report.
Excuse me. Hello. It's the Deputy Yeah. I really would like to ask for the indulgence of the committee. I have a doctor's appointment at 2. Is there any possibility that the Metro report can and I ask this with due humility to the chair, whether we could do our presentation first?
Okay. Can you allow the Deputy Mayor, honorable members? Honorable members, can you
Agreed,
allow?
Chair.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And thank you very much to the committee members. It's nice to be able to see faces that I'm so used to. I miss you all very much. I'd like to hand over to Commissioner Steve Middleton, who will be taking us through the presentations from the city.
Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. I'm in the hands of Vusi, unfortunately, as far as the actual presentation is concerned. So I'm not sure whether Vusi can show the presentation, or can I just talk to both issues, please? One is our involvement in the COVID regulations deployments, and the other one is security at homeless shelters. Chair, if through your indulgence, if Vusi could comment, please.
Okay, there is a presentation. You can proceed.
Greetings. The presentations have been shared with everybody on the group here. So I believe that the floor is yours to just talk to both the presentations which were sent to us this morning. I think you can proceed. We have the presentations that we received from your office.
Lovely. Thank you, Vusi. Thank you, Chair. With regard to this presentation, it's a very short presentation, Chair, and the reason for that is I knew that MEC Ntuli would give a detailed breakdown with regard to what is happening in the province currently, and I was also aware that General Jula is in the meeting, and he will also then talk to the South African Police Services report. Just to inform all, the Metro Police is during lockdown, and in actual fact at all times, we deploy under the auspices of the SAPS-chaired provincial joints. And on a daily basis now during lockdown, we also report directly to the SAPS-run Provincial Joint Operations Centre. So this is very short. We obviously have daily roadblocks with regard to anything related to COVID-19 regulations. We then also patrol all areas with regard to businesses and or residences that are not in compliance with the regulations. And then we also have, as an integral part of our daily deployments, issues around public transport. It's obviously a lot more detailed than that. But what you will find as a portfolio committee, and I'm not sure as your committee where you fit in with the JCPS structures and the Provincial COVID Command Centre, all the Metro Police statistics and details are shared through the Provincial JOC, and that is then consolidated into a report that goes to the Command Council on a weekly basis. So I haven't put any details into this whatsoever. But I can assure all of you that our deployments every day, today we have 970 members on the ground together with SAPS and the Army. And we deploy to every single aspect around COVID regulations, specifically in terms of the regulations. I think for this report, that's all I would like to indicate with this report specifically. The other report I've got is the security at the homeless shelters. And I have also then only limited it to security because the Deputy Mayor and the Mayor last week did a very comprehensive report with regard to all other aspects around the shelters. So if I may be allowed, Chair, if I could then switch also then to the shelters security report.
You can proceed.
Vusi?
You can proceed.
No, thanks, Chair. I need for Vusi just to change the report. There's a presentation for the security at the shelters.
The report has been changed.
Thanks. I think it just takes a bit long on my computer. I can't see it just yet. But in essence, if I just talk to the report, at the beginning of the lockdown or just before the lockdown, the city went into an initiative to put up shelters for homeless that would be affected by the lockdown regulations. The city currently has 12 homeless shelters, and they spread the majority in the inner city of eThekwini, with 3 on the outskirts. The outskirts ones are Phoenix, Isipingo, and Lahi Park in Pinetown. And then in town, we have the main one specifically being at Moses Mabhida Stadium. We also, I can read now to the report, thanks Vusi. There's a total of 12 emergency shelters. Next slide, please. Let me carry on without the slides. The members have got the slides. There's 12 shelters. What happened is at the beginning of the COVID regulations, myself as the head of Metro Police met with the South African Police Services General Langa, Brigadier Damani, Brigadier Litole, mainly from the central cluster of SEPs, and we devised a plan for all the shelters specifically. At all shelters, Metro Police is deployed on a daily and nightly basis from a static deployment point of view. The South African Police Services, as far as visible policing is concerned, is deployed at some on a permanent capacity, but most on an ad hoc roving patrol capacity, with the exception of Albert Park. Albert Park is our most volatile homeless shelter, and at Albert Park, we've specifically got Metro Police deployed, we've got visible policing of the South African Police Service deployed, and there's a section of the South African Police Public Order Policing Unit, together with the South African Defence Force Army, that are deployed and do ad hoc patrols to this site specifically. There's also a daily VOC. A VOC is a venue operating centre that is run specifically at Moses Mabhida Stadium, and it incorporates Metro Police, the South African Police Service, non-governmental organizations, members of the health and health fraternity, static security as far as contracted security, and all aspects around security and other issues are then discussed at the site. What happens in most of the shelters, they are fairly static at the moment. In other words, the numbers are fairly static. In the beginning, there used to be a number of escapes from the shelters, and that was mainly because the hard perimeter fencing and such like the hard security measures wasn't up at that stage. But in the last 10 days, there's been very, very few escapes, if any at all in actual fact. What has happened now, unfortunately, is, and I say unfortunately, but the fact is we're in week 8 now of the lockdown, and a lot of the homeless are getting a bit restless, but they are still static within the sites. As you can see in the presentation, we've got a minimum number of 35 at the YMCA, with a maximum number of 305 at People's Park, that is next to Moses Mabhida Stadium. With regard to other security issues, obviously the main issue is to keep the homeless busy within the shelters. There is a challenge with regard to social distancing, obviously, because they're in a confined space. But otherwise, I would allow the Deputy Mayor possibly just to give an indication of the fact that at this stage, we don't appear to have anybody that is COVID positive. But I would allow the Deputy Mayor, if she would like to give a couple of more comments. But otherwise, I can only say thank you to General Jula as far as the South African Police Service is concerned. From a Metro Police perspective, we work in an integrated manner on a daily basis with both the South African Police and the South African Defence Force. And everything we do is in an integrated manner, no matter whether it's roadblocks, vehicle checkpoints, visits to businesses where we believe that infringements are taking place, and all those types of aspects. Otherwise, thank you very much, Chair. There's a couple of pictures now coming up that the members of the committee can just have a look at. Thanks, Chair.
Would you like me to add?
Yes, addition.
Okay. In terms of the homeless themselves, we started preparing for these lockdown shelters as soon as the president announced that we would be going into lockdown on, I think it was Thursday, March the 27th. So we started building these sites immediately. What we did before the homeless entered into these sites, we screened them medically, both by the Department of Health and by City Health for COVID, for tuberculosis, of which many of them have it, and TB, HIV. So all of the homeless that are on sites had been screened. As Commissioner Middleton has stated, they've been in lockdown for nearly 8 weeks. So I can say with a surety that the main lockdown centres, particularly those in the CBD, are COVID-free. The Albert Park is a relatively new site in terms of time. I think it's about 3 weeks now. And it was a very difficult community to get into lockdown, which is why we needed the collaborative efforts of Metro Police, SAPS, and the Defence Force in order to get them into these shelters, many of them serious drug addicts and wanting access to drugs. The whole drug problem in these shelters has been dealt with by private medical practitioners and NGOs who have put them onto a withdrawal program, which has assisted the police very much because we're now dealing with a much calmer group of people. But Albert Park was always a worry for me. For those that know Durban very well, there was a lot of commuting between Albert Park, mainly drug runs, between Albert Park and the beer hall next to Dalton. There has been a person identified COVID at the beer hall. So what we have done is we have tested all of the people at Albert Park. So all of the homeless that are in the lockdown shelter, we are due for the outcome of those tests either today or tomorrow. Should any of them have COVID, it would look at making the site almost a quarantine site. I can just hope that Albert Park is COVID-free.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can you allow SAPS presentation?
Thank you so much, and good day to the Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, the Deputy Mayor, and Organised Labour. Before I proceed, Honourable Chair, I want to also mention that I have seated with me in this conference the officials from IPID, and I will allow them to introduce themselves before I proceed with your permission, Chair.
Thank you. I'm Mr. Narsal, Deputy Provincial Head at IPID. With me is Deputy Director Mr. Len John and Assistant Director Ms. Foster.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Our presentation is a Prof. Joint's presentation, and it is going to cover the following items. It's going to cover the management of the level 4 lockdown in the province, which is going to be broken down into operational deployments, the successes, and the recoveries. it will go on to also deal with the issues that are related to the state of policing at Isipingo Policing Precinct and Pietermaritzburg CBDs. We'll also cover the communication of the lockdown rules and regulations to the law enforcers on the ground. We'll also deal with the issues of compliance of the holding cells with health and safety protocols. We'll also look into the issues that are related to the report on the protection vulnerable groups, focusing mainly on the gender-based violence-related cases. We'll also deal with the status of the report of the Ncipha Ubugebengu talk show on the Ukhozi FM. And we'll also look into the challenges. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Proceeding, I want to state that the province is being managed through the prof joints and meetings which are held on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays. All COVID-19 matters are monitored in this forum, and binding resolutions are made at the same forum. Where prof joints cannot make a decision or where clarity is sought, the matter is escalated to the net joints. Cluster commanders participate in the district command council meetings, and issues that arise at that particular level and cannot be resolved at that level are escalated to the prof joints. The Provincial Commissioner, as the chairperson of the prof joints, is also a member of the Provincial Command Council. All regulations and amended regulations, as well as any directives, are discussed with all prof joints role players. And the discussion is led by the legal stream of the prof joints. The communication of the lockdown rules and regulations are issued in writing to all role players to cascade the information further to the members on the ground through prof joints instructions, as well as internal communication to all email users. Proceeding to the next slide, which will be slide 4. Cluster commanders and station commanders were instructed to partner with enforcers from other government departments and to enforce the regulations by executing the following strategies. The integrated roadblocks, including the Department of Health having an active role in those integrated roadblocks. The vehicle checkpoints at entry and exit routes of stations, clusters, and provincial borders. Stricter enforcement at the ports of entry. Increased visibility through blue light patrols. The monitoring of social distancing at shopping malls and pension payouts. To encourage the wearing of the face masks. To restrict the movement of people and loitering. Supporting the Department of Health in their community screening and testing processes by escorting the health workers to households. To increase patrols in the vicinity of screening. To cordon off the area where the screening is taking place, and we also participate in operations which are part of the contact tracing operations. Also to provide continuous visibility at institutions affected by the community protest in respect of the COVID-19. We can cite one incident at Tunjambili Hospital where members of the community of that particular area protested against the treatment of or the use of that facility for people that are affected with COVID-19, and we responded to that, and we arrested 19 of the protesters, and that matter is remanded to the 22nd of June 2020. We also provide static deployments at institutions and areas which are affected by community protests. Moving on to the next slide. Now I'm going to cover issues that are related to operational deployments that started just for the period to the 17th of May 2020 till the 18th of May 2020. It's just a 24-hour period. So in total, over this period, we had a total of 7,014 members who were deployed. And these members comprised of 4,192 members of SEPs, 81 reservists, 873 SANDF members, 1,508 metro and traffic members. Department of Health was 360. Moving on to the next slide. This slide deals with successes for the lockdown operation. And in terms of the successes, the number of cases that have been opened since the inception of the lockdown is 21,286. And the arrests that we have effected is 22,949. So this 22,949 is for the bodies. That's the actual suspects that were arrested. It was 22,549. And the arrest of the 22,949 assisted us in solving 20,173 cases of the 21,286 cases that were opened. The number of admission of guilt fines that have been issued is 8,087. The number of those suspects that were arrested who are already scheduled for first appearance is 13,485 to date. Cases that have been opened against law enforcement to date, it is 16. And of these 16, 13 were subs members, and 3 were municipality senior officials. That 22,000 arrests that I've mentioned already, if we further break it down, I've indicated that the arrest of 22,949 suspects assisted us in solving 20,173 cases. So for that reason, we still have 1,213 cases that have yet to be finalized, which remain under investigation. We also have 2,403 that are already finalized. We don't have any suspects who are in custody. And we have released 990. In terms of the nature of the regulations for which we have been making arrests, they are related to liquor-related offenses, of which it is 365. 457 are related to gatherings. 15,202 are related to residential issues, or specifically those that are failing to confine themselves in their residences. 195 are cross-border related. 1,769 are business-related, non-compliance issues. 1,106 are related to transport matters. We also have 19 which are related to the making of misrepresentations or making of statements to deceive. And we also have 250 which are related to property crime, e.g. the schools, as we are aware that were a spike in terms of vandalization and break-ins into schools. We also have other priority offences for which we have made arrests, and that is 384. Moving on to the next slide. The successes for the lockdown period. We have had 4,162 roadblocks to date. 333,138 vehicles have been stopped. 279,788 people have been searched or interviewed. We've had 248 which are just for non-compliance, especially with the Liquor Act. And we also have non-compliance which was detected in business premises. That non-compliance is 1,418 to date. The next slide is the recoveries during the lockdown period. In terms of cigarettes, we already have confiscated 2,480,730 cigarette sticks. We have also confiscated drugs, 9,141,484 and 844 milligrams of drugs. And in terms of the liquor, we have confiscated a total of 53 million liters, 672,194 to date. If one has to give an indication of what these successes, let me say these recoveries, are related to, very briefly, 142 is related to the selling, the dispensing, and the distribution of liquor. 59, it is related to the transportation of liquor in violation of the regulations. And 314, it is related to the sale of tobacco products or cigarettes. And 1,418 is drug related, to mention just a few. Moving on to the next slide and dealing with the state of policing in Isipingo. In Isipingo, 2,756 members, which is the average of 56 police members, were deployed. That is from the 27th of March until the 14th of May. That's the total number of members that were deployed in Isipingo, which is an average of 56. And the arrests that were effected for COVID-19 regulations has been 793 to date. The recoveries just in Isipingo, in terms of liquor, 625,375 milliliters. Drugs has been 1,154 grams. Cigarettes has been 16,975 sticks of cigarettes. And in terms of the operations that were conducted in Isipingo, we've had 146 operations, which comprised of 39 roadblocks, 989 stop and search operations, and we've searched 14,112 people. The next slide deals with the crime picture in Isipingo since the inception of the lockdown on the 27th of March. In terms of percentages, the crime picture in Isipingo shows a decrease by 42%. Now going to the slide which deals with Pietermaritzburg, the Pietermaritzburg CBD. In Pietermaritzburg, since the 27th of March, we have deployed 3,625 members, which is an average of 74 members per day. And the arrests that have been effected in Pietermaritzburg it's a total of 550. The recoveries, in terms of liquor, is 551 milliliters. Drugs is 15,599. Cigarettes, 54,490 sticks of cigarettes. And the operations in Pietermaritzburg has been 552 that comprise of 11 roadblocks, 207 stop and search, and we have searched 5,554 persons. Again, the crime picture in Pietermaritzburg, it shows in terms of percentages a decrease of 59%. In terms of the issues of compliance of the holding cells with the health and safety protocols, police cells are sanitized on a daily basis, and whenever this has been done, it's recorded in the OB. And compliance assessment team has also been established to conduct inspections at stations and to also assess the level of compliance. Both the arresting officer and the suspect are sanitized before entering the cells. Where possible, social distancing is maintained. However, there are stations where social distancing is not possible due to the size of the cell and the number of prisoners detained. In the next slide, I will be dealing with the protection of the vulnerable people, cases that are related to gender-based violence. The cases that are related to gender-based violence are cases like assault GBH, attempted murder, common assault, murder, and rape. And in all these cases, starting with assault GBH, it decreased by 57% during the period of the lockdown. Attempted murders also decreased by 49.3%. Common assault also decreased by 53.7%. Murders decreased by 58.9%, and rape decreased by 61.5%. So in total, these cases that are related to gender-based violence are down by 56.3%. The next slide deals with the status of SEPS programs to the community. Also, the question of the status of the Ncipa Ubugebengu program at the radio station Ukhozi. We want to state that SEPS is involved in a number of engagements with the community, and we are utilizing different media platforms. And in all these media platforms, the common denominator in terms of all our programs, it is focused and based on efforts that we are making and we should be making to reduce the levels of crime. Currently, SAPS have weekly slots on local radio stations in Ukhozi itself. Some of these slots are slots which are pre-arranged and pre-scheduled. Some of the engagements occur whenever a need arises and whenever there are calls that are made by certain communities. That also helps us in understanding what is going on in particular areas. Like this morning, Ukanelumbele was addressing issues that are happening in Amangwe, where, according to the caller, people were concerned about the levels of stock theft in that particular area, which also generates the murders. In addition to that, to those slots, we also have slot in Vuma FM, in Izulu Mzansi, in Inanda FM, in Vibe FM, and in the highway radio. In terms of the provincial crime picture in the entire province. We wish to state that contact crimes have decreased by 48%, total contact related by 36.9%, property related crimes decreased by 22%, total other serious crimes by 41%. And in total, the crime picture in the province shows a decrease of 37.8%. The one area where we don't have a positive influence, it is an area which is related to crimes that are dependent on police action. That is all in terms of the presentation which we had prepared, but I can also respond to an issue or a question that was raised earlier on while the MEC was still around, which is related to a matter that was escalated to the provincial level, that incident which happened in KwaZulu-Natal. And we want to state that what actually happened there is that there were 10 people, including Mr. Wagner, who was later going to be seen having a bit of a problem with the police in his residence. But in total, it was 10 of them who had failed to confine themselves in terms of the Disaster Management Act regulations. But then Mr. Wagner was able to dodge the police and he fled to his residence, and the local traffic followed him to his residence. And we all are aware of what actually ensued. But then the next thing that needed to happen, considering the manner in which the police were negatively portrayed in terms of that video, was to approach Mr. Wagner and advise him to open a case if he so wished against the police. And Mr. Wagner, who is a doctor at Chief Albert Luthuli Hospital, declined. He said he is not pursuing the matter any further. Then the next possible option that was left in terms of dealing with the matter is in terms of how the KwaZulu-Natal local traffic wants to deal with the matter internally. And so far, the traffic officers that were involved were cleared of any wrongdoing on that particular day. But in terms of Mr. Wagner and the other 9 that were arrested for the violation of the Disaster Management Act regulations, that matter has been remanded to the 10th of August, 2020. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. That is all that I had in terms of my presentation.
Thank you, General. Can you move to IPIT? A report from IPIT.
Thank you. Good day, Honorable Chair and members. During our presentation with regard to the provincial performance on investigation at KZN, we will look at the various areas of KZN, our resources, newsworthy cases on alleged death as a result of police action and also assault, cases received, crime scenes attended, post-mortems attended, gender-based violence, comparison of cases received, and questions raised by the PCP on the 7th of May. If we look at our area, we have a population of approximately 10.3 million people in KZN, which covers a land of 94,361 square kilometre. We have 184 police stations and 125 units, as well as one metro department, which consists of 2,538 members. IPIT resources at the KZN office, we have 17 investigating officers. We have 9 vehicles, of which only 6 is active at this stage, as 3 of the vehicles are currently in for service and mechanical issues. We only have one IPIT office. We used to have a satellite office in Mpangeni, but it was closed about 2 years ago. When we look at our newsworthy cases, we had a case in Isipingo where a foreigner was involved. He was allegedly assaulted by the police and SANDF members and left outside the hospital premises. On this specific case, post-mortem was done, and the findings was that he passed as a result of blunt trauma to the head. The second case, also a death as a result of police action, is for Winnie. The suspect the victim was assaulted, and he was left close to the hospital, Prince Mansheni Hospital. He died on his, he was assaulted and left close to the hospital. He was then taken to the hospital where he died. The cause of death was found that it was possibly natural causes and that it was not due to the assault that was conducted by the police members. The third case was a Nanda case. That was a section 28(1)(f), just the assault case. The victim is still alive. And while mentioning it, these three cases appeared in social media, and it's important just to take note of it. If we look at our summary with regard to cases reported over the lockdown period, as from 26th of March until today, death as a result of death in police custody, we received a number of 6 cases. There was one post-mortem. None of them were COVID related. So those all 6 cases, death in police custody resulted not as a result of police actions due to COVID. Then death as a result, we received 15 cases, of which 3 post-mortems were attended. Only 2 of those cases were as a result of police actions. With our discharge of firearms, we received 13 cases. Only 2 of those cases were as a result of COVID-related actions. Our torture cases, we received 12, of only 1 case was COVID-related. Assault cases, we received 80. It is alleged that 46 of these cases, they were COVID, during the COVID operations conducted by the police and SANDF departments. Only 1 of the cases in the assault it is alleged that it was Metro Police. Corruption cases, we received 4, of which only 1 case was COVID related. If we look at our comparison to the previous years, 2019 March compared to 2020, there is a decrease of 8 cases. If we look at April 2019 compared to April 2020, there is an increase of 14 cases received. On May, we did it as from the 26th of March until the end of May. We received 83 cases compared to 26th of March until the 19th of May. We're standing on 150 cases. So we can already see an increase of 43 cases. If we look at the questions raised during the PCP on the 11th of May, the first question they raised was what work has IPIN been doing during the lockdown? Witnesses has been telephonically contacted, post-mortems has been attended. We are having a problem or a challenge receiving post-mortem reports as pathologists are busy with post-mortems itself and attention is not being given to the administration part of the post-mortem reports. Okay. The Department of Health is focusing on the actual post-mortem. The turnaround time on the backlog cases during the lockdown, members did not attend to backlog cases. The members on standby attended to all new and current cases that we received. And they also gave priority to the. We looked at the merits of the case, and priority was given to those cases that needed to be attended to immediately. If we look at the special closures, which was also a concern, all special closures were regionally completed and according to our standing operational procedures of 2015-2016. After investigation was conducted by the National Head Office of IPIT, these special closures were reopened and they were finalised in according with the instructions with our standing operational procedures of 2018-2019. With regard to the number of death cases, IPIT is a reactive component. All Section 28A and B cases, death as a result of police and death in police custody, is dealt with in accordance with our standing operational procedures and the IPIT Act. In cases where the suspects are known, members are conducting an investigation in order to finalise the dockets and to obtain a decision from the SPP and DPP. The challenge that we are experiencing in KZN at this stage is that the NPA is not currently signing for new dockets. It is also difficult for the victims to describe the identity of the perpetrators as the members are wearing masks. Majority assaults reported occurred on the roadblocks and both SATs and SANDF members is involved. Members from various units is also conducting operations in KZN, thus the majority of our suspects is unknown at this stage. Gender-based violence cases, IPIT is reactive. Gender-based violence cases could not be prevented. And none of these cases that we received with regard to gender-based violence cases is as a result of COVID operations. All of these cases received by IPIT was during the normal policing. We have not liaised with the SANDF commander. I have, however, sent a member to the command centre to obtain the correct telephone number. So once we receive that, we'll be this afternoon. This office will make contact with SANDF. Thank you.
Okay, all members, we then engage the report now. Hello? All members, it was a last report.
Chair, how do you want us to engage it? Do you want to do it report by report, or do you want us to just give an overall view of all the reports?
I think overall, each member can take an overall report. I think noting questions where there where there's some questions or clarity.
Okay, Hussein.
Hussein.
Tele.
Tele.
Nsabeleng.
Tabeleng.
Sipidla.
Pidla.
Zulu.
Zulu. Anyone? Anyone? Are there any hands? Okay. For now, I'm going to take. Who's the next? Okay. Honorable Hussein.
Thank you, Chairperson. Okay, I'll start with the reports from Youth Parliament and Women's Parliament. Chair, I just want to say that I note the resolutions and progress in the report, but I am concerned about, the progress reports that are, it looks quite good on paper, but it seems like it's very unrealistic. And, every year we continue to see these reports, view it without actually resolving the problem. And the outcome of the resolutions, I think, must be realistic so that it's not just a pipe dream and you're going back and reporting back to the youth and women and creating this expectation. And when it's not delivered on, then you're going to see service delivery protests starting in communities as well. So I think when the departments report, they must report on realistic goals. And if it's not achieved, then they can confidently hold the responsible person accountable in the implementation of it. I mean, a simple example is like, on page 2 of the youth report where it talks about additional vehicles that need to be purchased for SAPs. And we're setting SAPs up for failure if we're just going to give, if there's a progress report that SAPs will now have vehicles to now patrol areas. So I think we just need to be aware of these type of things so that we don't create the impression that, it's definitely going to be delivered on. Even with regards to the e-docket system, to even suggest in the report that the e-docket system will be implemented in each station, we know for a fact is not possible because we visited a handful of stations as well. And we know that the problems at the stations is much bigger and it will not be resolved in the next 5 to 10 years because of the lack of budget that stations have. So I think, we must view this and also take these concerns into consideration, and that when these reports are done, that it's actually much more realistic. With regards to the Women's Parliament report as well, Chairperson, we've got 93 stations, according to the report, that have improved in terms of domestic violence audits. Yet we have 184 stations in KZN, and in 2018, 65 stations were assessed in terms of domestic violence compliance. All 65 failed in terms of non-compliance. So we still have officers who are not fully trained to deal with domestic violence, abuse, and rape issues. The report does not highlight the problems and the progress on those fronts. We so often hear that SAPs will be trained. We don't know how many SAPs are trained in terms of domestic violence, which stations these trained officers are being deployed at. People need to know which areas they expect better services in terms of the well-trained SAP staff who will deal with issues like domestic violence and rape. Apart from that, we don't know what drastic changes have made in ensuring that, apart from the posters that are being erected, as the report states, that posters will be installed in all the SAPS police stations to inform people of domestic violence on what their rights are. We need to give them a much better guarantee than that. And I think these safety measures against women need to be addressed urgently. And maybe we need to look at, we know that over 3,600 social workers that are qualified are actually unemployed and sitting at home. And between SAPS and the Department of Social Development, need to probably find a way to integrate the social workers into the system to try and assist the police stations, because you have 183 social workers that are deployed, but it's still quite understaffed to really deal with the issue of domestic violence and rape in the various stations that we have. And if you look at the crime stats every year, KZN is listed in the top 30 every year. Now, clearly, we're not addressing the major concerns that are with regards to domestic violence, and we need to take in the good proposals to try and implement this into the system so that it is more effective. So we just need to view that, Chairperson, and ensure that, we have 100% functioning police station, and we don't ensure that, women keep facing secondary abuse when they come to substations all the time. With regards to the Metro Police report, I see in total that they, according to the 12 shelters that they have in the various areas, it totals up to just over 1,500 odd members that are now housed in shelters. I just want to find out, Chairperson, what is the plan with the, is there a different plan, or is the plan going to vary when there's an easing of movement when the lockdown levels change? Because surely, the homeless will want more movement when the various levels change as well. What is the plan in that regard? Is there a plan? Also, what is the plan post-lockdown for the homeless? Has the city thought of integrating the homeless back into society, or provide them decent accommodation, or further assist with the necessary skills so that they can be integrated back into society? Maybe it's a question for the Deputy Mayor, if it's possible. Also, are the shelters, are they currently being ensured that there are meals and personal hygiene effects that are provided to them? And I didn't see the breakdown of how many women, children, and men are in the shelters, and whether they are provided, their personal space. If we could just get some clarity on that. Chair, on the issue of the SAP report, I'm actually quite disappointed with regard. Well, firstly, I'd just like to thank General Jula for the report, but I'm just not so excited about the report with regards to the issues surrounding gender-based violence, because the report that is given on page 14 just talks about, the stats in terms of percentages for GBH, murder, rape, etc. I'm just wondering whether these stats that are provided are actually only crimes-based, crimes against women, or are they general reports based on the overall stats from all the stations that he has provided in the report? Also, in certain communities, we still have major non-compliance. I see that he has recorded a good result in Isipingo and Pietermaritzburg, where they have done numerous roadblocks, and you can see the effects of the positive effects of the roadblocks that they have done, where there's a lot of confiscation of illegal items and non-compliance in terms of the regulations that were seen. But there are various other communities in townships, etc., that the infection rate is going to increase because there isn't proper enforcement in those areas where it's business as usual. If you go into many of the communities and they're not adhering to lock.
Are you finished with your questions, Honorable Say? Honorable Say? Honorable Say? Hello? Honorable Say? Hello? Honorable Say has disappeared.
Hayi kubi nje sihlalo ngoba masizokwenza ama-thesis la emsebenzini, hayi kulungile, qhubeka sihlalo.
The next member was Honorable Tele.
Thank you, Chair. One would like to appreciate all the reports that were given. I will start with our financial report, Chair. On page 10 of the report, it shows the underspending of 99%. It also goes back to 98% of the money that was not spent. And my worry, when you check for program 2, it talks about compensation of employees. If we can get a bit of clarity, this committee is complaining with the fact that this department does not have enough funds. But even if we underspend by 1 million and it's still a problem. We must talk about overspending rather than underspending. Not that we are saying we must overspend, but we can't say there must be no funds that are taken from the department, but we are able to take back the money, especially for programs that are very critical. In the report in page 11, it gives you specifically on where did we not spend on. It talks about the monitoring and evaluation work that needs to be done by our IPEP. I think that's where it's not spent. So can we make sure that these kind of matters don't happen? Because we cannot be fighting for departments to have more funds and yet we still underspend. Even if we underspend by 100,000, it's still underspending. That money is going back to the fiscal. For the second one, I, in a way, for the first time, concur with Honorable Hussein with regards to these reports that are done for your youth parliament, and there's quite a lot of those reports are not good for me. There's things that we say there that we know for a fact that we're not going to do. We in the report, when we are asked about what is the department going to do with regards to the violence that is happening in the violence that is happening in our institutions of higher learning. We talk about the fact that we are going to contract a service provider to do a research. I don't understand that statement, that we are going to contract a service provider that will do research on what is happening. And then what happens to the work of the police? Where is the intelligence of the police to find out what's happening to our kids, to our young people who are the future of this country? We write things that just do not make sense. That same report talks about this. It says by March 2020, we will have finalized the report on these attacks. Can we really? I've not seen that report. If that report is there, we are in May now going for June. Can we be presented with that report that is written on that document? On page 5 of the same document, it talks about police stations. Even there, the responses that we give does not give anyone who reads that report ukuthi siyayazi lento esikhuluma ngayo. It's as if bephendula nje ama-students, somebody was just writing a thesis, ubeziphendulela nje exoxa udaba ongakhulumi nge-state security yabantu base-South Africa. So can we rather the reports before go present to members for us to even discuss abukwe by abantu aba directly in charge or involved on those things, because they honestly make you uthuke kancane ukuthi is this the response emaphoyisa to young people and women on these matters. To the Metropolis report, thank you very much for the report. One truly appreciate the work that has been done by Metropolis when it comes to our most vulnerable, which are the homeless people of this country or of the metro. But the report does not really cover about the safety of the people that live within these shelters. Can we get a report on how many cases of violence that have been reported by the people that actually live within these areas? Are there any rape cases that we've picked up? What is the actual, are there any policing or people who are taking care of these people who are staying in these shelters? The reason why I'm asking is because I've heard of 2 cases I don't know how true it is. I was hoping I was going to get here of rape cases that have been opened that are happening in these shelters. Do we have any of those reports? Are there any arrests as well that have come through? How many meals do these people get? Because you find that the deputy mayor speaks about the fact that some of these people don't want to stay within the shelters. Do we provide them with enough meals? Is the water, are they given PPEs? How many are they given a day? PPEs, sanitizers, is the water? What is the state? I can see the pictures, but I have no idea on what is the happenings within these shelters. Do we have future plans for these homeless people who are there? What is our plan to integrate them, to assist them going forward? Because COVID-19 is going to finish soon. Are we saying they must go back again to the wilderness and make our city as filthy as it gets sometimes, with them staying in different areas and General Jula, thank you very much for your report. One appreciates it. It's quite thorough. And one must appreciate most of the things that you are talking about in your report. We've seen it. We've experienced it. Some of us who are in our constituency, in particular in my constituency, Gamashu and Uzuma police station, we were working very well with the police there. They, from the previous complaints, we can see the change, and they are really, really trying their best. But if we can get the police to negotiate more with these shops at the malls, because the work of the police can't be marshalling people outside the shops. Because if people are going to a Pick and Pay, for an example, or a spa, it's the responsibility of the shop to get more people who must deal with the issues of social distancing. We can't be, we don't have enough police for them to be able to deal with issues of social distancing in the malls. But we appreciate the work that we see happening, particularly on paydays when the elderly needs assistance. We see you and we do appreciate. We don't want to always complain, but we are quite excited with what we see in some of the areas, not everywhere. Because in the areas of Uspingo and Pietermaritzburg, I see your report. We've been really, really worried to say, where are the police in these areas? In areas of Ulundi as well, we've seen quite a number of people in the rural towns where people are loitering everywhere and you can't see any police visibility there. So it's nice sometimes to see what we're planning, but are these plans being implemented on the ground? I see your report as well talking about your liquor-related cases of about 365. I'm not sure if 365,000 or it's just 365. If it's 365, General Jula, I don't think that's a true reflection, because we know ukuthi emalokishini amathaveni maningi kangakanani. And I do have a feeling that we must have a program that we do, or an operation that the police must do on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, because that's when most of these liquor outlets, particularly the ones that are in the township, that's when they bevula bedayisa utshwala ngobumnyama. Case in point is a case of Ubobo, where this person was working, and according to social media reports, they're working with the police. So if we can tighten that kind of work, we can be assisted. Our previous minutes, General Jula speaks about the fact that we never had a report on the gender-based violence. I see that you've included it. We do request that you or the police take this matter quite seriously. I know you do, but I'm also not convinced with this report on gender-based violence. I think we can do better when it comes to that. We appreciate the case of Mr. Webner in Palito. Thank you very much for clarity. Sibonge, I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Cele. Can you move to the next person is Tabeleni.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chair, honorable members, Acting HOD, General Julia, and the colleagues. Honorable Chairperson, we would like to appreciate and note all the reports that has been presented. There are a lot of things that has been indicated in Women's Parliament, but we will just want to make one proposal. We would like to make a plea to honorable members, as they are the ones who can be able to assist when they are having their engagement about the demarcations of the stations. This is also another factor which has huge impact in service delivery rendered by the police to the community, which is also be able to mitigate in some of the issues that has been raised. The stations that we have currently, some of them do not serve any purpose for e-service delivery to the community because of the areas that they are situated. You will find that some police stations are right inside, surrounded by farms, and the communities are too far away to make sure that those people are obtaining as urgently service delivery as they need. In most of the areas where African communities reside, there are no police stations. If there is one, it will be very small and intend to serve number of or large number of people. There are a lot of developments that have been done in our country, and it's also still happening, and people are flocking in most of the areas. So currently the size of the community has increased compared to 5 or 10 years ago, but the number of police officials and resources are still the same, which is a huge currently in agent attending to the complaints of the people. The provincial office of SAPS cannot do anything to remedy the situation, as the manpower is distributed according to the REC, as we still do have captain stations. Hello, Chairperson?
Yes.
Oh, okay. As we still have the captain stations, so the number of the people that you have in the stations compared to the population, it's so little together with the resources. So the issue of the human and physical resources, if it can be addressed, the issue of police versus the servicing of the people will be improved, and the complaints that we are having, they can be lessened by balancing the two, because that is the huge challenge, which also is a problem as we are facing with it currently. I was covered in terms of, partly covered in terms of the issue of rotation of the members. That matter can be addressed at the national level and also in the bargaining councils. But all those who are doing wrong, I think the processes must be followed in terms of making sure that they are also brought to the book. But in terms of other reports, we just note what has been presented. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Tabeleni, followed by Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Let me also welcome the reports as presented, and welcome the Acting HOD, Gumbi. You are welcome to this portfolio committee, Mr. Gumbi. Chairperson, I only have questions for the department. My colleagues, I think they've covered some of the questions that I wanted to ask in the subs. The department is reporting about the 90 or the 1% underspending in their budget, and they are saying that this is attributed to the delays in filling of the vacant posts. My question therefore, Chairperson, these posts that were not filled, especially in the M&E, are they part of the critical posts? As we know the issue in the province,
Thank you, Bila. Zulu.
Thanks, Chair, and greetings to everyone. I'm Zulu. I'm Sandile Zulu representing NACTU. Mine would be just a clarity-seeking question emanating from the report from General Jula, that as he mentioned that it is impossible in some cells to observe social distancing. I would wish to perhaps find out from him that maybe in his view, what is the status of the vulnerability of the inmates who happen to be kept under those conditions where the social distancing cannot be observed? Thank you.
Chair.
Yes. Yes,
Honorable Chairperson, I got a bit of an issue. We've got an issue which we have raised quite some few times here on the request of members of SEPS members to be moved around in police stations. As this committee and members of the committee, we do have a right to request that. And we want the department to find a way for that to happen. Because we can't continue having police who are corrupt in our police stations and who are not working to the level that is expected of them to do. So in some of the areas, you find that you have policemen who have overstayed and now they are colluding with the criminals. That is the whole point of requesting for some of them to be moved to other stations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Taylor.
Hello, sorry, Chair.
Yes. Yes, Honorable Member.
I was greeting the Deputy Mayor, Chairperson. Okay. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, all members, with your questions.
Sorry, Hussein, I just got 2 more questions. I was cut off. Sorry about that.
Oh, my Lord. Just be brief, please.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. It's relative to the SAPS report. On 8, it makes reference to all the illegal items that were confiscated, the cigarettes, the liquor, the drugs. I just want to know what process is followed when these items are confiscated, when they get to the stations, because there has also been a number of incidents where there were reports of SAPS being involved in illegal activity by also selling confiscated items. I just want to know whether that's true, and if it is, whether those, how many incidents has there been reported
and whether obviously they're following the necessary processes. In the IPID report, it makes reference to the cases where they could not get hold of or they could not investigate the matters further as the perpetrators could not be identified, and they're making reference to SAPS members here who were wearing masks. I just want to also just find out from General Jula whether all SAPS members that are at roadblocks or even out on the roads, are they not wearing their badges? If not, can this matter be attended to? Because it just defeats the purpose of all these claims going to reaching the stage of IPID, and they're unable to investigate it any further. It also doesn't do well for the justice system as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, members. Mine is just few questions. It's on the metro. There's a video which is of the Metro Police who alleged dumping people in Durban in an area called Nazareth. If we can get a clarity on that one. And another one is on to Gerald Jula. The community does not understand the policing and the way cases are handled. That results to a large number of contained and unresolved cases, and the communities have lost the trust. As the committee, we are sometimes faced with the angry and dissatisfied community, but now the Honorable Speaker was forced to excuse herself. She was participating in a case in Babanang. The community are threatening to take the law on their hands. We believe that the community awareness on crime and policing is very important, and we ask you to come and give a presentation on Ipau because we had identified it as a very informative show that was creating awareness amongst millions of South Africans. But I was about to add my input on the show and try to picture myself to share the role. But I was disappointed to hear that the SAPS is no longer participating fully on that show. And I was told that the slot was allocated to SAPS for free. That is confusing me. And we need, as the portfolio, to know if there were any reasons behind for the withdrawal of program, and also recommend Gerald Jula that you reconsider your decision because such platforms are needed, especially now that we are having this problem of COVID-19 regulations. That's my question. Suppose the reaches even deeper in rural areas where there's no TV. And another question still on this issue. One of your resources is forensic services, which is not visible, and it impacts on investigation. It is also not visible. Where is the problem on this one? You can respond. The department, SAPS, and IPID. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I must apologize that I don't know whether it is due to some technological glitches or what is the problem, but the Honorable Chair was not coming out very clearly. You were breaking the only point that I was able to hear from this issue that is related to Ncipa Ubugebengu was the fact that there is a slot which is available free of charge from Radio Ukhozi. But I didn't hear anything else which you were saying, Honorable Chair.
Oh. Thank you, General. I'm saying that one of the Ncipa Ubugebengu listeners, and I was trying to explain that the community doesn't understand policing and the way cases are handled. That results to a large number of complaints and unresolved cases. That resulted that the community lost the trust on the SAPS. And as this follow, we are sometimes faced with angry and dissatisfaction community members who do not even know where to report if there are issues with police. We even made a reference of the recent complaint that has been received by Honorable Speaker. While we were in the meeting, she was to attend the community to take their hand, to take the law from their hands, because they are not taking
Honorable Chair, can I request members are within this meeting to switch because that's why we have a problem. Whoever is not on the platform, can they mute so that we will have less problems with trying to listen to the Honorable Chairperson? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Taylor. Did you hear me, General?
Honorable Chair, can I request the Honorable Chair to repeat what you were saying again?
Okay. I was saying that I'm one of the listeners of Ncipa Ubugebengu. Then I was trying to explain that the community does not understand the policing and the way cases are handled. That results to a large number of complaints and unresolved cases, and the community have lost the trust on the policing. As this portfolio, we are sometimes faced with angry and dissatisfaction community members who do not even know where to report if there are some issues. I even made a reference with the recent case where at Babanango, where the community are threatening to take the law on their hands because they are saying that they are taking for granted. That was my explanation. That we believe that our community awareness on crime and policing is very important. We ask you to come and give a presentation on Ncipa Ubugebengu because we had identified it as a very informative show that was creating awareness among millions of South Africans. But I was second surprised and disappointed that the SAPS is no longer participating in this program. And I was told that this program was free, and I don't understand why the SAPS decided not to fully participate in this program. So I'm interested to get the reason of withdrawal from this program, because it's assisting to the community. And I was told that this program has got over 3 million listeners. This was my point. General. I think you get the question now. Generally.
Thank you, Honorable. Yes, Chair. Should I now respond?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I want to assure yourself and all the members, all the honorable members, that SAPS will do everything possible to ensure that we are engaging the communities that you are raising, which you say are the concerns of the community, are issues that are very valid, where we have to keep the communities updated on the progress on their cases, which will also include the manner in which we go about investigating specific cases. We'll always do that. And as I had mentioned during the presentation, I said that we have slots. Some of these slots are permanent. Some of the slots that we have with specific radio stations are slots that we get on an ad hoc basis. And whenever the need to go and explain ourselves on specific issues arises, we will never turn away any opportunity which is presented to us to actually get the communities engaged in the manner in which we do our work, especially when those lots that we are getting and that we sometimes get are for free. So I just wanted to assure the Honorable Chair and the members, all the honorable members, that we will be engaging communities in different platforms and will be taking advantage of all the slots that are provided to us. And we are going to be going and to engage the communities. And I think the chair is suggesting that we should maybe put something like a presentation in terms of the program that we have in place, or that you are going to have in place to do that. We are going to do that. It's just that for today, the item that was on the agenda was just more about the status. But now that it is a presentation, that presentation is going to be provided. It will align clearly what we are going to be doing and what issues we intend to address with the audiences that are going to be targeted from time to time, and the nature of the issues that we would want to address. I hope that that response will satisfy the Honorable Chair. If that is so, I will go on to also respond on other questions that have been raised. One of those questions is whether the members that cannot be identified by IPs, whether it is due to a reason that when our members are on roadblocks and are wearing the masks, whether they are not wearing the name tags. It is a standing instruction that whenever our members report on duty, they must wear their masks. They must actually wear their name tags. We also have members who are in a detective environment who do not wear masks. So we can anticipate that there could be a bit of issues if those members who are wearing CVs, when they come on duty, have an agenda to commit crime, hoping that they will not be identifiable. But all our members otherwise, when they come on duty, they are wearing the name tags. The other question is related to sub-members who are corrupt and should be moved. We want to say that whenever there are specific issues or concerns that are raised by specific communities, we can just cite the SAPS Tongaat scenario as an example, where such issues have arisen. So the first step that we have to follow, it is a step where we have to ensure that those matters are investigated, and that if it is matters that have to be investigated by ourselves and not IPID, that we appoint teams of senior officers that are experienced, that can go in and investigate irregularities and concerns that are raised by the community. And once that process has been finalized, we then determine whether we need to invoke the disciplinary regulations or what steps we need to actually take. And in invoking those disciplinary regulations, sometimes we find ourselves having to transfer members. Sometimes we suspend the members, or sometimes we just go ahead to subject members to disciplinary procedures. So those are the processes that we follow. So it does become a bit of a problem to have a large-scale sort of en masse transfer of the members just because a particular station has been painted in a negative light. We can just take the Congress now as an example. So we always want to exclude those members who are doing their best and who are still loyal to the South African Police Service, but at the same time, identify those members that we regard as the members that are tainting the image of the South African Police Service. In terms of the cells and the vulnerability of the inmates and the suspects who are detained in the cells where social distancing is not possible, it is undeniable that wherever social distancing is not observed, the vulnerability of those people who are in such a situation increases. We have to say that fortunately, up to now, or since this COVID-19 erupted in the country, we don't have even a single inmate who has been found to be COVID-19 positive within our cells. And not even at the correctional services have we really had such serious problems. But we will, wherever it is possible, ensure that we split the inmates to different cells and transfer the prisoners or the suspects to other police stations that are quieter and have accommodation where this vulnerability is sort of going to be adhered to. The other question, yes, it is true, my colleague Umamu Molife, that we still have captain stations, which is rather very unfortunate, because having a captain station anywhere in this province or in the country actually means that at any given time we have just not more than 4 members that are going to be available for duties. And if those members, one member is on leave, one is off sick, one member is going to court, then you are just left with just about 1 member. So this is still a problem which is being addressed at the level of the BOC, which is also going to be subject to the budgetary constraints that are becoming so much of an issue, especially with the eruption of COVID-19. And then the question of stations that are built in the wrong areas. There's a lot of such stations that are built in the middle of nowhere. This is quite a serious problem, which we have identified, which we are aware of, an issue that is being monitored by our organizational development component in the province, and we therefore prioritize specific stations in specific areas. And we've always been trying to consider mainly issues that are related to those communities that have to travel so many kilometers, where you travel from one point to the other, you jump off, you must take the next taxi before you get to the police station, only to find that that police station, it is far removed from the community, or sometimes where you find that there was a closer police station to where you are coming from, but you go all around because we are in a totally different policing precinct. The next issue that I want to comment with regard to issues of gender-based violence remain problematic for us to monitor because when I gave a presentation on gender-based violence cases, I gave specific crimes like rapes, murders, attempted murders, assault TPAs, assault common. The problem is that criminal activities where victims could be women or children are captured on the system as such, either as murders, attempted murders, assault common, rape, and so on. Now, for us to understand whether the victim of such a gender-based violence-related case is a woman or a child, we have to go into the system manually to determine that. But that is the process that we have embarked on already. It is unfortunate that it takes a bit long because it is done manually. It actually means that we have to go through each and every docket. The 365 cases liquor arrests that were made, yes, the honorable member has remarked that it doesn't really sound like we are doing enough in terms of dealing with issues that are related to liquor-related offences. That is true. We will look into this. The problem at the moment that we have is that during the period of the lockdown, no liquor outlet is supposed to be open. And for us to get 365 or even more cases, we have to depend on information and intelligence that we can gather with regard to those other activities which are happening in the shops that are fronting as liquor as something else which is allowed in terms of the regulations, while liquor is actually sold in the backyard. And we're also aware that in the liquor outlets itself, there are other means that they are following in still selling liquor without us knowing what is really happening. But we will look further into this and see whether we cannot make any improvements. And we also take note that there are still concerns about the level of visibility in Isipingo and Pietermaritzburg. We are going to be stepping up visibility in these areas. We do want to mention that in the areas like these, Isipingo and even Pietermaritzburg, the issues of environmental design are a challenge for us. It is actually causing this congestion that we see in the areas like Isipingo and Pietermaritzburg. Also, the other issues are related to specific people who are so bent in buying in certain shops because they already have a relationship where they believe that it is cheaper to buy in a particular shop in Pietermaritzburg or in Isipingo. So they just go there, and it causes these congestions, especially during the SASSA payout periods. So, but we are looking into these issues and issues that are related to the marshalling of the people that are in the queues as well. We take that advice of maybe engaging the owners of these shops to ensure that they take responsibility of queue marshalling rather than each being left on ourselves as the SEPs to do these things. We'll be looking into this one. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I want to also state that that concern that was raised by Honorable Hussein, the successes that I presented on gender-based violence are successes that are for women and children. It was just about women and children and no other races or gender. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, General.
Mr. Chair, can I respond as I have to leave in a couple of minutes?
Yes, you can get.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to your august committee. I'm going to deal with all of the issues. Firstly, let me just state up front that as a province, we need to be very proud because the homeless shelters, what we did for the homeless in eThekwini is unparalleled anywhere in the country. Firstly, in terms of integration with families, yes, we have dedicated social workers on all of our sites, and we are putting our homeless community in touch with their families. And as soon as lockdown has been is over, many of them will be able to meet with their families. Post-lockdown, we've got very, very clear plans. We are going to keep some of the main sites so that the homeless have got somewhere to sleep at night, somewhere that they can store their belongings in a safe way so that it doesn't affect the other people, and somewhere where they can get a meal at night and in the morning. We are also, now that the homeless community have calmed down, we are starting skills programs on site so that at least they can leave these lockdown shelters with a much better hope for the future. In terms of what kind of care we provide, the homeless get 4 meals a day. I'm not joking, 4 meals a day. A breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner at all of our 12 homeless sites. It's a massive logistical operation for, there were over 2,000. Some of them, as I said, have been integrated with their family or they've gone back to work. But we have been feeding them since the 27th of March. In addition to that, they have blankets, mattresses, pallets. They have constant medical care. And in terms of security, there are site managers, static security, as well as Metro Police. So the security of the homeless is fine all of the time. In terms of the difference between men and women, they are separated. So if there are any rumors about rape, it certainly couldn't have been rape between a male and a female. Most of the homeless are males. Most of our women are kept in a place called Strollers in Mansfield Road with children. It's a building which we had already renovated as part of our homeless program prior to lockdown. And we also have a few women at the Albert Park site, but they are in a separate marquee and they are fenced off by the men. So I have dealt with violence. The the situation of any violence on the sites from the homeless, there were sporadic incidents, particularly in Albert Park, which we battled to lock down. They now are locked down. But because the homeless are now on a drug withdrawal program, they are so much calmer. So, there has been, and I'm sure Commissioner Middleton can verify this, there have been no major incidents in the last 2 weeks. In terms of PPEs, the homeless have all been given masks. They've got sanitizers. There are ablution facilities, showers and toilets on site with soap. They've got Vaseline. They've been given all their hygiene products. And there are enrolled nurses that are on the sites 24/7. So they are never left alone and they're never ever left unaccompanied or not looked after. We are monitoring them 24/7. They've been in lockdown for a long time now. And when the lockdown eases for the homeless, as I said, we do have a plan in the city. We've also identified a facility which will be called our Harm Reduction Center, where the homeless can continue to get drug withdrawal treatment as well as psychosocial help, where they can speak about their problems and we can help them integrate into society in a very good way. I'm very proud of the efforts of eThekwini, Mr. Chair. We've done an enormous amount, and the fact that we have them all on site, we now have them all taking their TB medication. Many have been screened. We've never had that opportunity before. We now have them on ARVs, and those that are requiring critical medication for various ailments, they are getting those weekly on the sites. So I can tell you honestly, the people in the homeless shelter are in a far better condition than the people out there who are desperately in need of food parcels. This is now a very well-fed, healthy organization or group of people, and we as a city aim to ensure that remains the case.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. You can excuse yourself now.
Thank you very much.
Is there any?
Yeah, TM.
Hello?
Honorable.
Yeah, TM.
Yes.
Is there any addition from Metro Police? No. Okay. We then move to IP.
Chair, if I may, as Metro, it was only your issue with the Nazareth story.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Chair. If I can, on Sunday, the 19th of April, I got a message from the mayor about this video specifically. I'm talking about Mayor Kaunda. We immediately initiated an investigation into this. What actually happened here is, on a daily basis, as part of the COVID regulations, our members drive around and we look for homeless people that need to be taken to shelters. Keeping in mind that there's a difference between a homeless person and a beggar, for instance. A beggar could be somebody that actually has a home that is just begging. And on this day, certain people were picked up and then taken to one of the shelters at Lai Park in Pinetown. What happened is there was no on-site screening at that stage. And in that process, one of the homeless people indicated that he would like to go back to his family. And the family, of course, stayed in the Marion Ridge / Nazareth area. So the vehicle then went to that area. And in that road where you see the video, the video is a bit deceiving. And in actual fact, even the wording as far as what the video entails is a bit deceiving. Because what you see in the video is this member of the public, the homeless person, was actually dropped off. And at that same time then, the vehicle then proceeds up the hill. When you watch the video, if you've still got it, you'll see at the top of the hill, two homeless or two people jump off the vehicle. The door is actually closed. So two people jump off the vehicle. They just caught a hike up the road. But this feedback has been presented to MEC and Thuli in a bigger forum as well, and the entire issue has now been resolved. And yeah, look, it happened. It's one of those things, and we've also now got a directive from the city that any integration or reintegration with families should be done more in an assistance with social development from a provincial point of view, and not just allowing our Metro Police members to do it when we have a request from somebody. Otherwise, it's all been resolved. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. IP.
Thank you, Chair. We just wanted from KZN, thank you for the opportunity that we were given to present our performance to you. We did not receive any questions from the committee. The wearing of the mask was addressed by General Jula, and we will also sensitize the people if the complainants come to us to make sure that they take the name from the nameplate whenever the members are wearing it. Thank you.
Okay. Department. HOD.
Honorable Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's Mr. Mothomi, Honorable Chair,
Okay.
on behalf of the department. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I must say right from the beginning, Chair, that the challenge with youth, women, and so on parliaments is that some of the things that get raised are things that do not really belong to the department. Some of them will belong to the South African Police Service. Some issues will belong to correctional services and so on. As I said when I was making my presentation, I already said this belongs mainly to the Department of SABS because they are the most competent people to answer those questions. But they get raised in the Youth Parliament, for instance, in the Women's Parliament, in the Disabled Parliaments, and all other parliaments. Those issues get raised to the department because in some instances, the other departments that are supposed to respond to them are not there in those parliaments. So I'm saying that in our report, we included things, for instance, that may belong to the SAPs. For instance, Honorable Hussein spoke about vehicles for SAPs. It's in our report, but the best people to respond to that are the police themselves in terms of their resourcing strategy. She also raised the issue of e-dockets. What we have included in our report is the information that we gather when we are trying to respond to these resolutions, either from the police or from the other departments. The e-docket issue, I agree, it's not something that can be resolved right now, looking at the fact of scarcity of resources. But as I say, again, the SAPs are the best positioned people to respond to that. The issue of vehicles as well, they're the best to respond to that as well. But we include them in our reports because they get raised in these parliaments. The issue of DVA audits, our department audits all stations. Well, last year, let me talk about last year specifically. In 2019, we audited all our stations as per the instruction from the National Department of Police. One of the issues that we did audit was DVA. We did find some of the stations not to be 100% compliant, and we are encouraging all stations to be 100% compliant. Even now, during COVID-19, we have added on the national tool that was given to us to audit compliance of stations to COVID-19 regulations. We have, as the province, have proposed, not added, but we have proposed that DVA be one of the things that is included in the tool. So when we go out to stations to check compliance with COVID-19 regulations, we also audit the issue of DVA compliance. So we are doing that. Yes, it is true as well that we cannot say that all stations are 100% compliant, but as the department, we have been involved in ensuring that we raise those issues with the relevant station commanders, and we report regularly to the office of the Provincial Commissioner when we do our debriefing of what we've found on the ground when doing our audits. So some of the things are not in our hands really to do as the department, but we have to report on them. On the issue of displaying posters, yes, this is the information again that we have, that all stations have to display posters with information to the public as to what to do in the event of DVA, gender-based violence, not DVA, gender-based violence. I have been to a number of police stations myself. I've seen some of those posters being on the walls of the stations centers. There was an issue raised about deployment of social workers. I think that also can be dealt with between the Department of Social Development and the SAPs. As the department, we are working with both departments in terms of playing our role as far as GBV, gender-based violence, and other issues that relate, for instance, to drugs. We are working with the Department of Social Development on those awareness campaigns and all that. The issue of underspending, I'll allow the CFO to respond to that after I've finished my responses. The Honorable raised the issue of that you need to be realistic, and also raised the issue of tertiary institutions. Why do we have to employ a service provider? It is true, honorable members, that we as the department do not have the capacity, for instance, to research and investigate issues. The youth desk of the CPF youth desk is the one that came up as part of their program, that came up with the issue of conducting an investigations in these tertiary institutions. I'm quite sure that members will agree with me that we don't have a drug problem, for instance, at tertiary institutions. We do not have a drinking problem that can make students, for instance, be violent and do all sorts of things that we're witnessing at the moment. The youth desk instead felt that, look, we need to get to the bottom of what is causing this anarchy and instability in these tertiary institutions. That's how the issue of the service provider came about, and we felt that they themselves, the youth desk, does not have the capacity to go and do research and conduct investigations to get to the bottom of why is there such instability and violence at tertiary institutions. I mean, tertiary institutions have people that you can think they are far more responsible than ordinary people in the townships. But the escalation of violence recently and instability in those institutions has caused alarm, not only to us, but even to the communities. Fine, there may be political issues, as we have seen during the fees must fall. Those are totally different issues that are dealt with by the departments and the government in a broader sense. But we felt as the department, after receiving the request from the youth desk, that we must conduct an investigation into this, and we needed people with resources and time to investigate and get to the bottom of the problems that are happening there, why they are happening. So that was the motivation for the employment of a service provider to conduct investigations. The issue was, what about police? What is the role of the police? I think, as we all know, colleagues and honorable members, police are there to arrest. They are not there to conduct investigations and do research on the causes of problems. So police get in when there are people have been identified as troublemakers, and they arrest those people. I think General Jula will concur with me when I say that. So I'm just trying to explain the motivation behind engaging the services of a service provider in investigating the causes of the instability and problems at tertiary institutions. Honorable member, I think it was the Deputy Speaker, raised the issue of vulnerability of inmates in terms of social distancing in prisons. It will be difficult for us as the department, again, to respond to that in a manner that will be convincing to honorable members, because that the department that can respond properly to that would be the Department of Correctional Services, which is part of the JCPS cluster. So some of this information that we report on is information that we get from our engagements with various departments, either through the JCPS cluster or when we go to find answers to respond to resolutions that get taken in these parliamentary summits, or in the parliamentary youth parliaments and women's parliaments, sector parliaments, that's what I want to say. So really, it's very difficult for us, as I say, Honorable Chair, to respond to how are inmates affected by the lockdown and issues of social distancing or physical distancing. We give information in terms of what we get from other departments. There was the issue of filling of vacant posts, whether these posts that are not filled are critical or not. At the moment, Honorable Chair, we have 23 vacant posts. I think we did report in one of our portfolio committee meetings as to what caused the delay to the filling of posts. We reported that there were challenges from organized labor who were alleging certain irregularities, as they said, regarding the recruitment process. The recruitment process was then halted in 2018 October, pending the investigation. The outcome of the investigation was released only at the beginning of November last year. Already a number of posts had been advertised. They were actually at the shortlisting stage when the investigation started. So that stopped, and then we have those 23 posts that have not been filled. The number that I would regard as critical is 8 posts. Those of the 3 district coordinators, Amajuba Ugu and Utugela, the director, corporate services. That one was created after the resignation of the director in November last year, and the 6 court watching M&E posts that are going to be responsible for docket audit, court watch or docket audit. Those are the critical posts that are vacant in our establishment at the moment. Another issue was the issue of environments. I'll allow the CFO to talk to that one, Honorable Chair. The rotating of police, I think the General Jula has dealt with that, and also Ms. Ntabeleng Mulifi has dealt with that, because it's a matter that has to do with the employer and the employee. It can be dealt with through the bargaining chamber processes. Those are the issues, Honorable Chair, that I've picked up that I wanted to respond to, unless I've missed some. But for now, let me thank you and stop there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You said the CFO will get to other issues.
Yes, the underspending issue and the issue of violence. Yes.
CFO.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think I'm audible now.
Yes.
Mr. Msomi has touched on the issues of the underspending and gave a reason that it was the issue of the vacant post. And indeed, we've reported to the portfolio committee, even on our third quarter, that the reason of our underspending, it's based on the savings on the compensation of employees. So even at year end, Honorable Chairperson, the environment that the honorable members wanted the clarity on the issue of the 2 million that was moved from program 2 to program 1. The underspending affects program 2 mainly because the vacant post, they also align to program 2. That is the reason that it even goes to the sub-program of the monitoring and evaluation, as the post that Mr. Mhlombi has alluded on, that those are the posts that will assist on the M&E. On the issue of the tabling on the environment, honorable member, the one is for the one that we need to report to the portfolio committee. It's the one where we're shifting the funds from the capital assets then to the goods and services. But we will welcome if there's a resolution that we missed on the additional reporting. We don't have a problem as a department. We will have to follow that one. But the one that we were aware of that we needed to report to the committee is where we're shifting from the capital goods then to the goods and services. So that is the one, honorable members, that affected the shifting of funds. It's mainly due to the vacant post that we had to realize the savings on the compensation of employees and then move it to the program that needed to spend the funds at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. I think we are done with all the issues.
Chair.
Yes. Yes, Honorable Taylor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm a bit worried, Chair, with the responses that were given by Mr. Mhlombi. This report has been presented to the portfolio committee, and we are going towards the youth parliament, and these answers that have been presented here, we are not happy with that report. I'm hearing what he's talking about when he says some of them don't belong to the. I'm confused. I'm totally confused, Chair. If this report, why is it them that are responding to these issues? If they have taken the responsibility for them to respond to the issues raised to the youth parliament, they must send them to the relevant department to give proper answers. I don't want to accept what he's saying when he's telling me about policing, to say for police to do their work, we must get a service provider to find out what's going on in the institutions of higher learning. He says that the work of the police is not to investigate. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, Chairperson. I'm not sure if it's me who don't understand the rules of policing or what is happening, but I refuse to accept this report. This report cannot be endorsed by this committee. It can't be when it goes to the youth parliament. We must, as this committee, they are going to say it went through this committee and we accepted what is written in that report. It's poorly written, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, you are quite correct, Honourable Member. Yes.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, I want to concur with Honourable Taylor because I had the similar concerns that she had, and I'm glad that she agreed with me on this one as well, because it just doesn't make sense. Everything that's in the report in terms of where it states progress, we are now getting a report back to say, well, SAPs need to respond or other departments need to respond. Because if that is the case, then why put it in the report in the first place? Proper results should have been, or reports should have been stipulated in the document. And this document definitely needs to go back and be reviewed and come back for this committee to adopt. And I agree with her. We cannot adopt this right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
To add something, Chairperson, I used to be a youth, a worker leader. Most of the resolution that you find or things that workers have gained, they were done through workers' parliament. These parliament are very important, Chair. They cannot be taken as if they are just parliaments. I could even hear the sentiments of Mr. Mhlomi when he was talking about these parliaments. Women parliament and youth parliaments are very important parliaments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Chairperson.
Rejected by the Portfolio Committee.
Honorable Chairperson.
Yes.
It's Ngai from the Department of Community Safety and LIAISON.
Yes.
Let's accept and apologize. We're accepting criticism from the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, and also agree that we'll further process the report, possibly to the satisfaction of the honorable members. But allow me to comment just a little bit on the side of the tertiary institutions. The tertiary institutions and the conflicts there, we've not been into that space. So the explanation on the investigation of crime does not necessarily talk to the open issues of crime that is committed that must be investigated by the police. Therefore, because tertiary institutions are autonomous institutions. So there was this need then which was raised to say Department of Community Safety must go into that space. So we wanted to do some research really so that we find a baseline. Otherwise, there has been programs already that we've done in these institutions. There has been structures that were created. I do remember that I was part of the program at the University of Zululand. But we do take criticism from the honorable members of the portfolio, and we will try to beef up the report and hopefully before the before the parliament, for the youth parliament. Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members.
Honorable members, stakeholders, I think we have come to the end of the meeting. Unless there is an other issue which is left behind.
Hey, Chair, it was the longest meeting of the Community Safety and LIAISON I ever attended.
Okay. Siyabonga Mhlonishwa. Thank you, all members. I think we have come to the end of the meeting, but we will request the honorable parts to remain. We will request the honorable parts to remain just a few minutes of final discussion.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think now I can briefly take members through the AOP, which was the only remaining item on the briefing agenda.
Okay, just try to be brief. I think the all members are tired now. Yes.
I will. Namsing lambile.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nisekhona?
Yebo, xolani bengicela uyi-project i-AOP quickly.
Sikhona, Chair.
Siyavumelana ukuthi abe brief bahlonishwa.
Chair, there's only 2 members left. It is yourself and Honorable Kwala. All the other members have left the meeting.
All the same. Awe, angiyazi ngite njini. Inkinga nje, i-AOP has to be adopted. I don't know, mhlambe we can follow up basho ukuthi baya-adopta yini laba abangekho, because i-due date yayo vele seyikade yadlula, and it's a document that we are using as we are doing oversight. So without it being adopted, you'll be the only committee that has not adopted.
Manje sokwazi kanjani sobabili thina nomphephetho sebesishiyile?
Oh yeah. Kodwa usihlalo bengithi ubacelile, ngiyamangala nje uma bephuma abantu.
Ngeke nikwazi nje kusuku.
Ukwenze njani isihlalo?
Uthi arrange olunye usuku ngoba ngeke sabathola vele manje.
Okay. Sizozama noma eyikhalenda yabhek, kodwa we will try mhlawumbe ukucela nje ukuthi uma sesifuna olunye usuku kuqala phansi i-process ye-request ethatha iviki kwayona kusaloku kusayina ama-office ahlukahlukene.
Ngeke sobabili sekulicala ukuthi nathi singasala sibe necala.
No, it's fine sihlalo, kusho ukuthi sobuye siyibone ngesinye isikhathi or siyisendele i-member. We'll try to make indlela nje ethile. Sobona.
Okay, mphephetho ngiyabonga mfowethu.
Okay, okay Hlalo, ngiyathokoza.
Siyabonga son. Bengicela uvusi noninela noLungi bangabe usakhona ke basale ke sixoxe kancane i-oversight yethu.
Sakhona.
Yesakhona. Yeah. No guys. Yeah. Hayi usihlalo bangashiya.
Okay.
Unukuhleba.
Okay.
Nawe supha usale nosupha.
Azomjabulisa usalelani?
Hayibo usupha phela i-support staff hayibo. Ya ngiyazi sonke sesikhathele, but bese ngisho ukuthi kukhona i-request yenziwe. Ngizwakala.
It's Vusi no. Take it outside, please.
Awukhuzela ubusi bandla. Ngithulele
Guys,
go.
Mambonga qhubeka.
Ngiyaqhubeka. Yeah, okay. Ngithi kune request eyenziwe ikomiti ukuthi bafuna ukuhambela iSmile